Harper, it's not really my place, but I have to ask. Have you really thought this through? The elderly gynecologist gazed intently at the slender girl sitting in front of her. Understand, it's too early for you to have children. You're still a child yourself. What are you talking about? I'll be 18 soon. As soon as I turn 18, I'm getting married. Joshua proposed to me recently. We're just waiting to finish school. And after school, you don't plan to continue your education? The doctor inquired. Why rush? I have my whole life ahead of me. Once the baby grows up, I'll go back to studying. I've thought it all through, Harper said as she stood up and started gathering her things. Don't worry. Everything will be fine. I hope so, the doctor whispered. Here, take this. It's a referral for tests. And this is a prescription for vitamins. But I still advise you to think it over while it's early. Later, it will be too late to change anything. Harper pretended not to hear the last part, thanked the doctor, and left the office. She dialed Joshua's number, eager to share the exciting news with him. But he didn't answer. She was sure the news would make him happy. They had been dating for almost a year, and he had recently asked her to marry him. He had said, "Once you finish school, we'll get married and live happily together. Don't worry, my parents are okay with it." That night, everything happened. And a while later, Harper felt unwell during class. She had to leave. After lunch, her friend Joyce came over. Seeing Harper so pale, she immediately understood what was going on. "Are you pregnant?" Joyce asked. "I don't know," Harper replied, "but I've been feeling like this for several days now." "Does Joshua know?" "Not yet, but I don't think it will be a problem. We were planning to get married after school anyway." Sure, we didn't plan on becoming parents so soon, but it happened. However, Joyce did not share her friend's confidence. Unlike Harper, she wasn't blinded by love for Joshua and had seen him flirt with other girls numerous times. Joshua was a desirable catch, and combined with his good looks, it was no surprise that girls would compete fiercely for his attention. But Harper knew nothing about this. Suddenly, Harper's grandmother walked into the room. "Hi, Harper," she said. "Harper, what's wrong? Did you eat something bad?" Harper didn't respond to her grandmother and just gave Joyce a pleading look, begging her to keep everything a secret, but it was in vain. "Frances, she's pregnant. You're going to be a great-grandmother soon." "Grandma, it's not certain yet," Harper tried to explain. "I'm going to the doctor tomorrow, and then I'll know for sure." The elderly woman sat down in a chair opposite her granddaughter and, looking at her, said, "Who is he? Is it that scoundrel Joshua?" "Grandma, he's not a scoundrel. We're getting married as soon as I finish school. He proposed to me, so he's my fiancé." "You're a fool, Harper," Frances whispered. "Just like your mother." The woman got up from the chair and left the room. She poured herself some tea, sat by the window, and quietly said to herself, "You're an old fool. Couldn't protect your daughter, and now you're losing your granddaughter." Harper had grown up as an obedient girl, unlike her mother. She started dating boys at 15 and gave birth to Harper at 16. She left the baby with Frances and continued her reckless lifestyle, changing partners frequently. The only thing that consoled Frances was that her daughter never had more children. 5 years later, she was gone. She got involved with a pathologically jealous guy who, in a fit of jealousy over his friend, hit her. She fell and never got up. After burying her daughter, Frances put all her effort into raising her granddaughter. Harper made her proud with her good grades and well-behaved demeanor. But then Joshua came along, charming her naive granddaughter, and now she was pregnant by him. Frances didn't trust his intentions. He took after his father, Billy, who had been an arrogant and insolent. As Harper walked home from the doctor's office, her mood worsened with each passing minute. She had tried calling Joshua about 20 times, but there was no answer. Suddenly, someone called out to her. Turning around, Harper saw old Betty. "Hello, Harper. Why so sad?" "Can't find Joshua," the old lady squinted. "Do you know where he is?" Harper asked. "Of course. He went to the cafe with Natalie." "I was surprised, thought maybe you two had a fight." "With Natalie?" She rushed toward the cafe. Inside the dimly lit room, music blared, and the smell of alcohol filled the air. A few girls were dancing in the middle of the room. In the far corner sat a lively group, with Joshua at the center. Natalie was sitting on his lap, kissing him. Harper, unable to believe her eyes, approached the table, but no one paid her any attention. "Joshua, what's going on?" The whole group turned to look at her, but Natalie didn't budge. She continued to sit on his lap, eyeing Harper with a smug grin. "What do you want, Harper?" Joshua asked. "I'm asking, what's happening here?" Harper repeated. "We're having fun," he replied. "Why are you here?" "I was looking for you." "I wanted to share some good news," Harper said. "I'm pregnant, Joshua." "So? What's that got to do with me?" he asked with a smile. "What? You're the father." "You promised to marry me," she cried. "Promising doesn't mean marrying," Joshua laughed. "You'd have to be a real fool to think a guy like me would marry a fool like you. I just wanted to sleep with you. And you fell for it. Now go away. Stop bothering us." "But what am I supposed to do?" she asked. "That's your problem," Joshua said. "Don't you dare bother me with this. I'll tell my father, and you'll regret it." Overwhelmed with shame and despair, Harper didn't know what to do. She fled the club, choking on her tears. "Harper! Harper!" Old Betty tried to stop her, but it was in vain. So, she headed to Harper's house, hoping to find her grandmother there. "Francis!" Your Harper ran toward the river in tears, something terrible might happen. Betty shouted as she burst through the door. "Oh my God!" Francis ran out of the house and headed towards the river. Harper stood on the bridge, nervously tugging at the edge of her sweater. "Sweetheart, don't do this," Francis said softly as she approached her granddaughter. "I can't live without you, Harper." "Grandma, he called me a fool and said he just lied to sleep with me. I don't want to live anymore. How can I walk around with such shame? God will punish him. He will pay for what he's done." "Come here," Francis said, moving closer to Harper. "You're not just ending your life, you're ending an innocent one too. Who needs this child? It will be mocked its whole life, called illegitimate. We'll leave, Harper. We'll go away and tell no one. We'll say the father died. Don't be afraid, my love, I'll help you." Harper finally turned to face her grandmother. Her large, tear-filled eyes looked at her with hope. "Let's go home, darling. We'll calm down. You'll see, God will punish him." A week had passed. Harper hadn't left the house. Thanks to Natalie, the whole town knew how Joshua had humiliated her. Frances' heart broke as she watched her granddaughter. Harper didn't eat, only cried. "Stop it, sweetheart. As soon as you finish your exams, we'll sell the house and leave. We'll go far away, anywhere you want. After the baby is born, you can go back to school, and I'll take care of the baby. Don't worry, Harper, everything will get better." But it seemed Harper didn't hear her grandmother. She continued to refuse food and cried constantly. One day, Frances returned from the store to find her granddaughter unconscious. Physical and emotional exhaustion, the paramedic confirmed. "We're taking her to the hospital. You should see a doctor too," he advised, looking at Frances. "All right, I'll see a doctor," she mumbled, "but first, there's someone I need to visit." The woman headed to Billy's house to tell him exactly what she thought of his scoundrel son. As soon as Billy saw her through the window, he stepped out onto the porch and shouted. If you're here for compensation, go back. If I paid every fool who spread her legs for my son, I'd go broke. You're a scoundrel, and you raised your son to be one too. We don't want anything from you. I just came to say that you will pay for Harper's tears. One day you'll beg for forgiveness, but it will be too late, Francis yelled. You should have kept a better eye on your fool of a granddaughter instead of coming here with complaints. Otherwise, she'll end up like her mother. You scum. Francis boiled with anger. But Billy turned and went back inside. Francis picked up a stone from the road and hurled it toward the house, hoping to break a window. She missed, then walked back home. She reached her house, sat on the porch, and didn't get up again. Francis. What are you doing sitting here? Betty stood by the gate, trying to see what her neighbor was up to. But it looked like Francis was asleep. Betty approached the porch, already sensing something was wrong. Francis sat in an unnatural position and wasn't moving. Oh, my God! Betty exclaimed and called an ambulance. How did this happen? She asked as the paramedics carried Francis' body to the ambulance. Most likely a heart attack, the doctor replied. After the ambulance left, Betty and old Jacob discussed the situation. What do we do now? How do we tell Harper? Betty said. Yeah, it's a tough situation, Jacob replied. I'll go to town tomorrow. I'll visit Harper and take care of the funeral arrangements, she decided. I'll go with you, Jacob said. Excuse me, an unfamiliar voice interrupted their conversation. Can you tell me where Frances Garrett lives? Lived, Betty muttered. Lived? Did she move? She passed away. Today, Jacob said. You're too late, young man. I'm sorry, the man, who looked to be in his 40s, stepped closer. And her granddaughter, Harper, where can I find her? Betty and Jacob exchanged glances. And why do you need to find her? Jacob asked. Friends asked me to pass something on to Frances, or to her granddaughter. So, where can I find her? She's in the hospital. But be careful, she's under a lot of stress, Betty advised. Thank you, the man said, heading towards his car. Early in the morning, Betty and Jacob arrived in town and went their separate ways. Jacob headed to the funeral home, while Betty made her way to the hospital to see Harper. How are you, dear? Harper lay very pale, her eyes staring blankly at the ceiling. She wasn't crying anymore. How did it happen? She asked Betty. What do you mean, dear? Betty asked, not understanding. Grandma. I overheard the nurses talking yesterday. I wanted to go see her, but they didn't let me out of the ward and gave me a shot. Everything's still a blur. Her heart. It had been troubling her for a long time, Betty said. Don't worry, we won't leave you alone. You'll stay with me for now. Thank you, Betty. How can I attend the funeral? I'll talk to the doctor. I'm sure he'll allow it. Just rest for now, and I'll be back soon. The old woman left the room and headed towards the doctor's office. At the nurse's station, she noticed the man who had visited yesterday. He was talking to one of the nurses. When he saw Betty, he pretended not to recognize her and walked away. She was puzzled by his behavior, but quickly forgot about it when she saw the doctor. All right, dear, I've arranged everything. I'll come for you tomorrow and take you to the funeral. For now, stay and rest. Harper nodded, and Betty suddenly remembered the strange man. Harper, did anyone else come to see you while I was gone? The girl looked at her in surprise. Who would come to see me? Well, I came here with Jacob. He also intended to visit you, but he must have gotten caught up with things, Betty improvised. Anyway, rest up. I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, Harper said, drifting off to sleep as they gave her another injection. On the bus ride home, Betty told Jacob about the strange encounter at the hospital. I don't like him, Betty said. Yeah, it's all very strange, Jacob replied. But don't panic prematurely. You'll pick up Harper tomorrow. Then we'll figure out what to do next. Doctor, I want to have an abortion, Harper said. I don't want this child. Harper, the decision is, of course, yours, but as your doctor, I must warn you that such decisions can have significant consequences. You're very young, you understand. The doctor spoke while observing her closely, but he didn't see any signs of distress in her demeanor. You see, I'm completely alone now. I can't give this child anything. And don't tell me that someone above will help. My child would be forced to live in poverty and be unloved. Alright, I understand. You'll see a gynecologist tomorrow, but you have tonight to think it over again. Thank you, Harper replied. A night to think it over again. If only the doctor knew how many of these nights she'd had. Her grandmother's death was the final piece in the wall she was building between her past and her future. The naive Harper died with her grandmother, and tomorrow, after the abortion, a new Harper would be born, ready to make everyone regret who contributed to this transformation. Leaving the hospital, Harper felt like a completely different person, seemingly indifferent to everything. She didn't want to scream, she just wanted to lie down, fall asleep, and never wake up again. But first, revenge, Harper decided, sitting on the porch where her grandmother had died a few days ago. She was about to go inside when someone called her name. Harper. She turned around to see an unfamiliar man. He was tall, middle-aged, and well-dressed. Harper looked at him warily. Hello, Harper, he said, approaching the porch. Who are you, and what do you want? Harper asked. I'm your father, the man said. Wonderful. Harper sneered. You're probably on your deathbed and decided to leave me all your millions. Don't expect me to thank you. And honestly, I'm very tired. I don't have time for you. So goodbye, and don't bother me with such nonsense again. She turned to leave. I understand how you feel, the man said. But please, let me explain everything. I'm not sick, I'm in excellent health. I only recently found out about you. Please listen to me, and you will understand. What if I don't want to listen? Then I will have to sit on this porch until you agree to talk to me. Harper sighed and said, all right, go ahead, and she sat down on the porch. I have a proposition, the stranger smiled. Let's go have lunch, and I'll tell you everything. Harper nodded in agreement. At the cafe, after ordering food, the man didn't waste any time and asked. Can I start? The girl nodded and leaned back in her chair, feigning interest. My name is Stan, he began. A little over 18 years ago, I came to your village on business. I was married at the time, but your mother drove me crazy. When I got back home, I wanted to divorce my wife and marry your mother. I didn't know she was pregnant. Then, out of nowhere, my wife told me she was pregnant, and I couldn't leave my future child without a father. I had to give up my dream of being with the woman I loved. Later, there was a miscarriage, but as it turned out, the pregnancy was a lie from the beginning. But back then, I didn't know any of this. She suffered a lot and begged me to stay with her. Out of pity, I did. 6 years went by, and I decided to visit your village again. Frances told me your mother was gone and chased me away. She never mentioned I had a daughter. I saw no reason to divorce my wife anymore, so I stayed with her. A few months ago, my wife was diagnosed with cancer. On her deathbed, she confessed that 18 years ago, while I was in the bathroom, your grandmother called. My wife pretended to be a maid. Frances believed her and asked her to tell me that your mother was pregnant. Naturally, my wife didn't pass on the message, and that's when she made up her own pregnancy story. After my wife passed away, I came here. I'm sorry, but your mother didn't have the best reputation. I had to be sure you were my child. So I bribed some medical staff while you were in the hospital to get a DNA sample. Once it was confirmed, I came to see you. I know what you've been through. Let me help you. Harper sat in silence, processing what she had just heard. Part of her wanted to tell the man in front of her to go away, to insist she could handle everything on her own, and add him to her list of people to get revenge on. But on the other hand, her father had shown up just in time. His money and connections could make things easier. Stan seemed to read her mind. "I have a feeling you want to get back at those who wronged you," he said with a smile. "But think about it, what can you do right now? You have no money, no connections, no loyal friends, and not even a solid plan. So, I propose you come with me now, get your thoughts and feelings in order, sort out your life, and devise a proper plan for revenge. Trust me, revenge is a dish best served cold." "Maybe you're right," Harper agreed. "Excuse me, can you tell me where I can find a hotel around here?" A young, beautiful woman stood before the taxi drivers. She had just gotten off a bus that had arrived in the village. She carried a suitcase in one hand and a backpack on her shoulders. "A hotel in this dump?" one of the taxi drivers scoffed. His dirty shirt, worn-out pants, and old cap suggested he had never ventured beyond this village. "Well, Jack, you always said you'd leave this dump as soon as you finished school," thought Harper, observing the man. The unkempt man who had answered was her former classmate, who had always looked down on her during their school years. Maybe someone rents out a room. Harper needed a place to stay. "Noah, you've got a big house. Why don't you put her up?" Jack called out to one of the taxi drivers sitting in car. The men laughed. Harper scrutinized Noah. She didn't know him. Maybe he had moved here while she was away. But who in their right mind would come to this dump where there was no work or prospects? Noah got out of his car and walked over to her. He was of average height, with broad shoulders and muscular arms. "Well, if the lady is willing to pay for her stay and behave herself, we can give it a try," he said. Harper looked him straight in the eye. "Of course. I was brought up well and know how to behave in someone else's home. You don't need to worry about my conduct." Noah's house was indeed large. 2 stories with a huge terrace that had 2 doors leading from it. Noah headed to one of the doors. "This is where I'll put you. My parents used to live here, but they passed away. I intended to merge these 2 halves, but..." He hesitated. "I haven't done it yet. So, you'll have a separate entrance. It's practically a separate apartment." "Thank you. It's perfect," Harper replied gratefully. After agreeing on the price, she went to her side, unpacked her things, took a shower, and changed clothes. It had been 7 years since she had left here with her father. Her father lived in Boston, in a huge apartment in one of the skyscrapers, with a country house, a small fleet of cars, and a very profitable business. Stan insisted that Harper study at one of the universities in Boston. "Understand me, daughter. Education provides not only knowledge. Education teaches you to think correctly." Harper threw herself into her studies. At first, she studied because she had to. But then the pursuit of new knowledge captivated her, and she sought out new learning on her own. She graduated from university as one of the top students in her class. Her father got her a job at his company as his assistant. After working for a year, Harper decided it was time for revenge. When her father learned of her intentions, he accepted it as inevitable. Together, they devised a plan. "Of course, this is just an outline. We don't know what has happened over the years, so we'll adjust as we go," he said. "Therefore, you need to gather information first and not rush for quick results. Everything needs to be well thought out. It might take several years. So be patient. Don't worry, Dad, I won't rush." The evening before her departure, they sat together in a restaurant. "Make sure you call me every day," Stan urged. "Tell me everything that's happening with you." Harper nodded in agreement. Her father pulled out a small ring with a stone from his pocket. "Dad, what's with the gifts? This isn't just a gift. It's your talisman and my peace of mind. If I don't hear from you every day, I'll come for you right away." But if something happens, just press this stone hard, and it will send a signal to me and my chief of security. Please, wear it all the time. All right, Harper said. All these years, her father lived solely for her. He was caring, kind, and generous, as if making up for all the lost years. In the morning, Harper began her journey, the one she had been preparing for all this time. She didn't realize when she fell asleep. She looked at the clock, it was 5 in the morning. She decided it was time to get up. Putting on a tracksuit, she went out for a run. It was part of the plan, to go for a daily morning run. Under this guise, Harper could survey the surroundings, note the changes that had occurred over the past 7 years, observe new people who might have appeared, and overhear conversations. She wasn't worried about being recognized. Her new chestnut hair color, colored lenses, and diet had changed her beyond recognition. The overall appearance of the village was depressing. Only one street in the village seemed to be thriving. New mansion-like houses had appeared, and the fences had grown taller. It was clear that money was no object here. And there's the house of the family that almost ruined my life, Harper thought bitterly, stopping in front of it, pretending to tie her shoelace. Good morning. I don't think I've seen you around here before, a voice sounded next to her. Harper saw Billy driving out of the gate, but she didn't expect him to stop beside her. Are you visiting the Plummer family? The Plumbers lived on this street. The head of the family owned a woodworking business nearby. Harper understood that Billy's question was likely just a pretense. He probably already knew where she was staying. No, she replied, pretending to adjust her shoelace. Then she stood up and prepared to continue her run. She had nothing to talk about with Billy. Not yet. Then who are you visiting? I know everyone around here, he persisted. No one, I'm just by myself. Harper looked at the man disapprovingly, making it clear that she didn't appreciate his questions. Then she continued running at a leisurely pace. Billy drove slowly alongside her. Don't be angry. I've lived here my whole life. I know everyone, and you're a new face. I'm just curious why such a charming lady has come to our village. Don't you think you're being a bit too intrusive? Harper frowned and turned onto a path leading to the next street. Please, forgive me, she heard him call out. It's too late for forgiveness, dear, she whispered. As Harper approached the gate, she heard a child's voice. A little girl, about 3 years old, was running around the terrace with a puppy chasing her. Noah was sitting in a wicker chair, watching the child. When he saw Harper, he greeted her with a frown. I was afraid we might wake you up. I went for a run, Harper said, glancing at the little girl. Do you work out? Noah asked. No, I just run. It helps me think, wake up, and stay in shape, of course. That's commendable. Would you like some coffee? Noah offered. I'd love some, Harper replied eagerly. If she befriended this family, it would be easier to gather information. Noah picked up the child and went inside the house, and Harper followed. A small hallway led into a large kitchen. A kettle was whistling on the stove. Noah hurried to turn it off, and toys were scattered everywhere. Sorry for the mess, he apologized, come on in. On the table were already a plate of sandwiches, a basket of muffins, and cups of coffee. Sorry for being nosy, but where is your wife? Harper asked. She passed away. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know. Noah didn't respond. And where do you work? She continued. At the school. I'm a teacher, physics and computer science. We moved here 4 years ago. First, my wife's parents, and then us. The city's air was too harsh for Ashley, my wife. So, we moved here. I thought you were a taxi driver, Harper said. I was just helping out. Anyway, tell me about yourself. What brings you here? The company I work for won a bid to open production facilities in several villages like this one. I'm here as a specialist to determine what kind of production would be most profitable here. This story was something she and her father had concocted to explain her presence if anyone asked. Harper, I'm sorry, but we have to go. Noah stood up. I need to take Christy to daycare. Of course, Harper stood up too. I'll head back to my place. Returning to her room, she changed clothes, sat down on the bed, and pondered. She needed to subtly convey this legend to the villagers. She dialed her father. Dad, how are the documents? I'm just about to head over to Hank's. Hank was an old friend of her father's, a high-ranking official dealing with land regulations at the state level. Just give him a heads up, as I plan to start spreading rumors about the new production today. Don't worry, daughter, we'll take care of it. We'll send all the documents to the local mayor today. After chatting a bit more with her father, Harper started getting ready. She needed to dress in a way that wouldn't make her look out of place but would still make her stand out. The seemingly simple jeans, jacket, and boots, upon closer inspection, spoke of their significant cost. Adding to that some small, neat diamond earrings and a silk scarf, the young woman was fully prepared. Where could she hear all the news and subtly tell her own? Well, of course, it was the local market she headed to. The market was bustling with people. Everyone was talking, bustling, and life was buzzing here. A new car pulled up to the market. Natalie emerged from it. Her entire appearance screamed that she had a lot of money. Well, she said. Shopping time. She glanced around, and her gaze stopped at Harper. Did she recognize her? She didn't. She looked Harper up and down, assessing her appearance, and Natalie put on a friendly smile. Oh, you're the one staying with Noah. She wasn't known for her tact. Yes, Harper decided to feign surprise at such boldness. Natalie noticed it and decided to smooth over her impression. Don't take offense. It's just that we're all straightforward here in the village. By the way, how long are you staying? I'm here for work. As soon as I finish, I'll leave right away. How interesting, exclaimed Natalie. And forgive me for being curious, but what kind of work brought you here? The company I work for won a bid to build a production facility in your village. My task is to determine what kind of production is possible here, find a suitable location, and start construction. Do you already have all the documents ready? I'm somewhat acquainted with our mayor. He didn't mention anything like this. If everything wasn't ready, I wouldn't have come here. And as for your mayor not knowing, well, perhaps he simply hasn't been informed yet. I think he'll be notified tomorrow. Harper intentionally said the last sentence loudly. The locals needed to hear it, to understand that she had significant capabilities and influential leadership, for whom the local mayor was not an authority. Some women overheard her, and not hiding their satisfaction, they looked at Natalie. Oh, but I have everything, suddenly exclaimed Natalie. Why did I even come here? She headed back to her car, turned around, and said to Harper. Well, welcome to our little hole. It's all kind of strange, the mayor twirled a glass of whiskey in his hands. Why did our government suddenly decide to do such a charity? The opening of a company in the wilderness. Most likely, someone wants to launder money. Billy also turned his glass over in his hands. It wouldn't hurt for us to join in. Maybe there will be an extra $1 million in your pocket. Everything has been distributed for a long time. You see, the papers haven't even arrived yet, but the specialist has already arrived. There are enough people who want to grab a bigger piece without us. We need to ingratiate ourselves with a specialist. Billy smiled. I saw her, a young girl. If there was something serious, they would have sent a serious person. And here, most likely, for a distraction. They'll build something simple. The money will be washed, they will report to the authorities, and that's it. Even if everything is seriously planned, then you need to keep an eye on it. And who will agree to go from Boston to live in this hole? Therefore, they will put local people in charge of everything. Guess who will have to head the new enterprise? You know my terms, the mayor smiled. Well, that's settled. We need to find out everything from the girl. Take care of these for a start under the pretext of the documents that came, Billy said, and left the mayor's office. Harper ran along the village. She wanted to get to work today. It was necessary to find a good site for construction. She has already decided on the activities of the future production and has developed a sequence of actions. She had hoped that last night there would be movements on the part of her opponents. But the evening passed quietly. No one was looking for meetings with her. Had she miscalculated somewhere? Well, let's wait. Maybe if they see the actions, they will start to move, the woman decided to herself. That's why, waking up early under the guise of jogging, she headed along the outskirts of the village. The sound of an approaching car was heard from behind. Harper, continuing to jog, pretended that she was not interested in her at all. Good morning, cutie. A well-fed man in his 50s in a cashmere coat, under which a three-piece suit was visible, was looking at her from the car window. Are you the specialist who came from our high-ranking leadership to modernize our village? Even if it's me, it's not the right time to have business conversations, Harper said. Of course, I understand everything. I would just like to invite you to my office to discuss some nuances. And who are you? Harper stopped, looking at the man. She knew who he was. But it was necessary to support the legend that she was here for the first time. Colin Epper, the local mayor, the fat man smiled. So why should I come to you, Colin? Harper continued running. The car slowly moved after her. Well, as far as I know from the documents, you are in charge of the development of future production. I could help you with information, provide some information about the area and the people. Okay, I'll come in, Harper said, and turned toward the houses. I'll be waiting for you, she heard behind her. It's certainly not what I wanted, but it's even better, Harper thought. The morning turned out to be fruitful. She picked a great place to build and made sure her bait started working. Harper, would you like some coffee? Noah told her. Like yesterday, he was sitting in an armchair and waiting for Christy to play with the puppy. Thank you. I'm just going to take a shower. Harper came into the kitchen when Noah was pouring her coffee and milk for Christy. You've made a splash here, he said, everyone's talking about you. What is the new program to support the village? I don't really know, Harper evaded the question, what they told me, I do. And tell me, Noah, what professions prevail among the local population? Ordinary, mostly workers. Everyone knows how to do a little bit of everything. Will you be recruiting locals for work? Of course. And if there is not enough, we will attract from the nearest settlements. That's good. I can't even believe that someone remembered about us. And, by the way, why us? Noah asked this question, to which Harper has long prepared an answer. One of the founders of this project had a father who lived here and died. Apparently, this is in memory of him. Noah and Christy left, and Harper began to get ready for the mayor. I wanted to hear what he had to say to her. She hadn't impressed him as a businesswoman since morning. It could be heard from his intonation. Now is the time to correct this impression. A business pantsuit, a strict hairstyle, a heel, nude makeup and some jewelry created the image of a businesswoman who always gets her way. Hello, Colin smiled, I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand your name from the papers. Harper. Harper decided not to hide her name. She sat down in the chair opposite the mayor. Tea, coffee? He asked. No, thanks. Let's get right to the point. What questions do you have about our documents? So practically none. I looked at the estimated costs. Judging by them, you are planning to build a small production facility. Why? Smiled Harper, if you had paid attention to the project plan, you would have noticed that the production is planned to be huge, we even plan to enter international markets. By the way, this project is not final. I have already decided on the direction, so I will provide the final version in a couple of days. But I already know from my calculations that the end result will be more expensive. But you have an amount that does not correspond to your plans, the mayor said in surprise. You will not have enough for the entire project. This program allows the use of sponsorship. We will look for investors. Or rather, we have already found it. As soon as I submit the final draft, we will start negotiations. It seemed to Harper that even through the table she could see the mayor rubbing his sweaty hands in anticipation of profit. Colin talked a little more about how glad he was that such a program had reached their village, and began to say goodbye. Thank you, Harper. I hope I will be one of the first to learn about the final decision on your project. Goodbye, Colin. To her surprise, she found Noah at home. Why aren't you at work? Has something happened? She asked. I have a day off from school today. I usually do chores on this day. Noah laughed, and Harper noticed the dimples in his cheeks and the twinkle in his eyes. I'll help you. I don't have anything to do anyway, Harper said. Oh, come on, he replied. Objections are not accepted, especially since I need to distract myself from mental activity. Okay. Dinner's on me. Noah left to load the washing machine and tidy up, and Harper took over cooking and cleaning the kitchen. She had loved to cook since childhood. Harper prepared the meat and vegetables for dinner and kneaded the dough for homemade muffins. Meanwhile, Colin rang Billy to invite him to his office. Well, what have we got? Billy asked as soon as he entered the office. Everything is serious. The production is going to be big and profitable. The lady hinted to me that there is even access to foreign markets. Do you understand what that means for us? The mayor rubbed his palms together. I see, Billy scratched his chin thoughtfully. For one thing, I won't have any workers. I think all our locals will rush to work for a good wage. In that case, we desperately need our own person, the mayor said. Come on, think. You will be communicating with this woman. We need to get her used to our way of doing things. I've got an idea, Colin said. According to the documents, there is not enough money allocated for such construction. But in the same place the documents say that it is not forbidden to seek sponsorship. Harper has indicated that they have sponsors. But still. So you're suggesting that we move those sponsors? Billy guessed. Well, yes, in exchange for a stake in the future. That's not a bad option. You just have to know how much money they need. Noah went to pick up Christy from the daycare, while Harper headed back to her room to rest and change for dinner. After taking a shower, she lay down on the bed and drifted off to sleep. She was awakened by a quiet knock on the door. Throwing on a robe, she opened it. Harper, we're waiting for you, Noah said, looking at her with surprise. Oh, sorry, I lay down to rest and accidentally fell asleep. I'll be right out. Noah met her at the door and helped her to her seat at the table. Christy was already sitting and eating. Just like a restaurant, Harper smiled. Noah smiled proudly. He had indeed tried to impress her with the table setting. After plating the food and pouring wine into their glasses, Noah made a toast. Cheers, he raised his glass. Cheers. Harper echoed. The evening was wonderful. They ate and chatted, and Harper felt like she had known Noah her entire life. After dessert, he went to put his daughter to bed, and Harper stepped out onto the terrace. She wanted to think through her next steps, but her thoughts kept drifting back to the evening and to Noah. Natalie, you need to make friends with this Harper. You two are about the same age. Billy sat at the head of the table during the family dinner. Billy and I noticed she jogs in the mornings. You should take up sports too, he added. Why? I have a good figure, Natalie whined. For the greater good, silly, snapped Joshua, her husband. There's a lot of money at stake. She annoyed him so much. When his father insisted he marry the daughter of a local entrepreneur, Joshua saw it as a game. Natalie was just like him, always thinking about parties and pleasures. After the wedding and honeymoon, Joshua continued living his old life. The only changes were his new home, a gift from his father-in-law, and Natalie's constant presence. But that was only Joshua's perspective. Natalie took it all seriously and started playing the role of a proper wife. She forbade him from meeting friends, hosting parties, or being out without her permission. Joshua just laughed and ignored her complaints, believing he was free to do whatever he wanted. One night, when Joshua was at a club with some girls, an enraged Natalie stormed in, yelling and pulling one of the girls off his lap. Joshua lost his temper and hit his wife. "Who do you think you are to boss me around? Wife? Then go home and take care of the house," he shouted, pushing her out of the club. That evening, he brought a girl home and had a wild night. He woke up to a bucket of ice water being poured on him. Opening his eyes, he saw his furious father, his father-in-law, and his wife. The girl was nowhere to be seen. "I escorted her out," Billy said, his tone ominous. His father was pulling his belt out of his pants. "Come on, Dad, I'm not a kid anymore. Let me handle my life myself." "Handle it yourself," Billy yelled, whipping his son with the belt. "So, you live a life of luxury on my dime, and no one can tell you anything? You haven't worked a day in your life, and you make your wife do all the housework." Joshua was scared. He had never seen his father this angry. "Listen up, kid," he began, "from now on, you're going to work. Forget about friends, girls, and parties. And God help you if you ever hit your wife again. I'll kick you out with nothing." Without another word, his father left the room, followed by his father-in-law. Natalie stayed behind. "Did you snitch?" Joshua asked disdainfully. "What did you expect? That you could treat me like that without consequences?" She turned and left the room. From that day on, Joshua had to get up every morning and go to work for Billy. Over time, he got used to it and even started to enjoy the work and the prospect of making more money. Natalie, feeling empowered after her father-in-law's intervention, became unbearable. She constantly demanded things, reminded Joshua of his duties to her, and acted incredibly haughty, as if Joshua were her servant rather than her husband. However, when it came to money, the family showed remarkable unity and understanding. Even Natalie and Joshua set aside their arguments. This was one of those times when there was an opportunity to enrich themselves at someone else's expense. So, both families had gathered in Billy's living room. As soon as the clock showed 5 in the morning, Harper got out of bed. She stood in the shower for a long time, trying to push thoughts of her neighbor out of her mind. But her stubborn imagination kept bringing him back. "Calm down, focus on the task," she told herself. After getting out of the shower, Harper got dressed and left the house and started running. Today, she didn't have a specific goal. She had already seen what she needed to. She just wanted to clear her mind and use physical exercise to get rid of unwanted thoughts. She ran, humming along to the music in her headphones, and didn't hear someone calling her until they grabbed her by the elbow. Who could it be now, she thought, turning to see Natalie. "Good morning. I see you're also trying to stay in shape," Natalie said, smiling too broadly. "Also." Harper thought to herself, "You're only doing this because of me," but out loud she said, "Good morning. I started running back in college when I joined a friend, and I've been doing it ever since. Do you mind if I join you?" Natalie asked. "No, I don't mind. Everyone's talking about you," Natalie said. "People are buzzing, hoping for something." "I think they're hoping for new well-paying jobs," Harper said, looking at her companion with slight sarcasm. "Oh please, they'll just drink away whatever you give them," Natalie said. "But I believe the company won't keep alcoholics employed." "Well, then you'll have a shortage of workers," Natalie said, looking at Harper. Harper felt disgusted by how Natalie spoke about her fellow villagers. She knew there were few heavy drinkers in the village. But she decided to play along to find out what Natalie's intentions were. She was 100% sure Natalie didn't come up with this meeting on her own. Really? Harper tried to sound confused. So what should we do? Bring people in from neighboring villages? You see, Harper, our people need a firm hand to guide them. Someone they fear and obey, Natalie said haughtily. No way. Harper felt like punching her but held back. And I suppose you have someone in mind, she asked. You're right, Natalie said. I know someone. A man who's a natural leader. Want me to introduce you? He can help with construction and getting the enterprise started. He has extensive connections. Really? Harper smiled. Well, I wouldn't mind. If he's really that capable, I'll inform my management, and they'll meet with him. Who is he? My father-in-law, Billy. No way. Harper thought, you're Joshua's wife. She barely concealed her surprise. Natalie continued. Let's do it this way. I'll say that I met you while jogging. You turned out to be a really cool girl, and you are, by the way, and I invited you over for dinner. How about tonight at 7? We're having a family dinner. Everyone will be there, my family and my husband's family. Great, I'll be there, Harper agreed. Natalie promised to send a car for her and happily ran off to report her success. After changing into her robe and brewing a cup of coffee, Harper called her father. After listening to her, Stan said, well, today is one of the most important days for you. You need to stir up their greed as much as possible. And by the way, I gave your project plans to my economists. They concluded that the project is feasible. So I've given the go-ahead and am sending people and equipment your way today. Dad, what people? There's plenty of labor here. I'm not talking about workers. Engineers, lawyers, and an economist are coming. You can choose the workers yourself. Awesome. Dad, you've really inspired me. That's good, Stan said. But don't forget why you're there. After the conversation with her father, Harper felt motivated. She needed to focus on the upcoming meeting, ensuring that those she would meet today had no doubts that her project was a goldmine and that she was someone who could be easily manipulated or have the enterprise taken from her. As evening approached, she began to get ready. She pulled out a stunning dress, bright red, with a modest neckline, bare arms, and a figure-hugging fit. After carefully applying makeup and styling her hair, she got dressed, adding some jewelry. She critically assessed herself in the mirror. A beautiful woman stared back at her, like someone straight off a fashion magazine cover. As 7 o'clock neared, Harper threw on a coat, grabbed her clutch, and headed out, only to run into Noah. An awkward silence hung in the air, neither of them able to speak. You look like a fairy. Harper then noticed Christy standing next to Noah, her mouth wide open in admiration. Thank you, sweetheart, but I could never compare to you. You're the real princess here. Christy beamed with delight. We were going to invite you for tea, but I see you have other plans, Noah said at last. Yes, I'm off to dinner with future business partners, Harper explained, though her tone sounded apologetic. In such a dress, it did seem more like she was heading to a date than a business dinner. But Harper knew that a formal dress wouldn't achieve her goals tonight. A car honked at the gate, and after saying goodbye, Harper walked toward it. Noah watched her leave with a hint of sadness. What was he hoping for? That a wealthy girl would fall for a simple teacher with a child? Sitting in the car, Harper suddenly wished she could go back and have tea with Noah and his little daughter. Business first, she told herself firmly, pushing all thoughts of Noah out of her mind. Natalie came out to greet her. From her expression, Harper could tell she looked stunning. Natalie barely managed to hide her anger and envy behind a welcoming smile. Here's Harper. Natalie exclaimed, overly cheerful. The men of the family approached Harper, their faces showing a mix of admiration and barely concealed desire. Good evening. Harper smiled broadly, and the men rushed to introduce themselves and kiss her hand. Maybe I overdid it a bit, Harper thought. She glanced at the people gathered around the table. At the head sat Billy, with his wife to his right. Throughout the evening, she barely said a word. She left for her room right after dinner, citing a headache. Next to Billy were Natalie's parents, Joshua, and Harper completing the circle. Once his wife left, Billy focused all his attention on Harper, pouring her wine, joking, and complimenting her. Joshua tried to keep up, captivated by Harper's beauty, and forgot about his wife, who was irritably nudging him with her elbow. The only one who remained composed and unaffected by the guests' charms was Natalie's father, Hank. Watching Billy and Joshua, he realized they had forgotten why Harper was invited. He decided to steer the conversation in the right direction. "Harper, you must be tired of compliments by now, but I must add that besides your beauty, you possess a remarkable intellect. Otherwise, you wouldn't be trusted with such an important mission of starting a production from scratch." "Thank you, Hank. This isn't my first project, but usually, after I develop it, other specialists take over. This time, I decided to oversee everything personally. Equipment and staff should arrive in the next few days." "What kind of staff?" Billy, reminded of the dinner's purpose, asked. The arrival of more people from Boston could complicate their plans significantly. "Specialists to start the construction, recruit staff, and handle documentation," Harper said, smiling charmingly. "Are you planning to hire local staff?" "Yes, possibly. If needed, we'll bring people from neighboring areas." "That's good. We have enough workers, but not many specialists, they're all occupied." "You wouldn't put a local without the proper education in charge of such a production, would you?" "Of course not," Harper smiled. "We'll send someone from Boston. But such a production requires huge investments before it starts." "Did the government allocate such a sum?" "Of course not, but we can attract sponsors. In fact, many have already offered their support." "And what's in it for them?" "We ensure they are acknowledged in all matters related to our production. In government reports, advertising, even on the product labels, their assistance will be noted. Also, during the grand opening, there will be a big press conference with a significant focus on the sponsors and their role in the project. So, we have many willing sponsors, and we're not worried about lacking funds." Harper smiled. Silence hung over the table. Harper could almost hear the wheels turning in the men's heads. Her answers had made it clear that they couldn't easily latch onto this project and profit from it. "Dad, I feel a bit uncomfortable," Natalie interjected. She thought it would be suspicious if their guest was questioned about her work all evening. "I invited Harper to have a nice evening, and you're bombarding her with work questions." "Yes, indeed, what are we doing?" Billy snapped out of his thoughts. "Forgive us, Harper, for being so intrusive. As someone who's been in business my whole life, I always think about work. But tell us about yourself. What do you enjoy doing in your free time?" "I heard you're into sports." "Not really," Harper replied. "Mostly just morning runs. They help me plan the day and get energized." The group shifted the conversation to hobbies and leisure activities. As it neared 10 o'clock, Harper spoke up. "Excuse me, but it's getting quite late. I'm used to going to bed early and waking up early as well." She decided that she'd stirred the pot enough for one evening. "I'll tell our driver to take you home," Natalie said eagerly, relieved that the guest, who seemed a threat to her marriage, was leaving. "I can walk her out," Joshua offered, drawing stern looks from his entire family. "Pay attention to your wife," Billy said firmly. "I'll see Harper out." "I've never met a woman like you before," Billy said as the car pulled away. "You've captivated me both in mind and heart." "That's a bit much," Harper thought, but she said, "You flatter me." "Not at all," Billy countered. Harper looked at him in surprise. If she hadn't known him before, she might have thought he was in love. "You truly combine exceptional intelligence with beauty," he continued. She was speechless, so astonished she didn't know how to respond. When they arrived at her home, Billy got out to open the door and help her out. Harper, this might sound forward, he lightly touched her hand, but can I hope for a lunch with you? Just meal, nothing more. Harper panicked again. Let me check my schedule and I'll find some time for lunch. Thank you. I'll look forward to it. Billy kissed her hand and got back into the car, while Harper walked towards her house. Despite the late hour, Noah wasn't asleep. He sat on the terrace in a wicker chair, sipping a beer and occasionally checking his phone. Can't sleep. Waiting for the match, Noah replied. I'm a football fan, but too noisy. So, I come out here every time to avoid waking Christy. Seriously? Me too. Do you have any more beer? If you don't mind, I'll join you. Yeah, sure, Noah grinned cheerfully. I'll just change. After showering and changing, she dashed out to the terrace. Noah brought another chair and a few bottles of beer, poured some nuts, and set up the phone so they could both watch the game. So, you decided to get to know the local elite better? Noah asked casually. But Harper sensed his discomfort. More like they decided to get to know me, she replied. And what are your impressions? Noah looked her straight in the eyes. Nothing I didn't expect from people who got rich not entirely through legal means, Harper answered, matching his gaze. Strange, a few hours ago your eyes were brown, Noah remarked. Those are contacts, Harper struggled to explain, I've always wanted brown eyes. I'm sorry for intruding, your eyes are beautiful as they are, Noah said, smiling warmly at her. His smile was so inviting that Harper felt like leaning into him and never letting go. When the match ended, they both retired to their rooms. Thank you for a lovely evening, he said, caressing her gaze. And to you, she replied. Harper didn't want to say goodbye, and she could see in Noah's eyes that he didn't either. He gazed at her, unable to move. Involuntarily, he leaned towards her lips, but at the last moment, Harper recoiled and, murmuring good night, went to her room. In the morning, she struggled to open her eyes. A contrast shower helped her wake up. Putting on her workout clothes, she left the house. She needed to contemplate last night, and as usual, running would help her with that. But her thoughts kept returning to one thing. Noah. When all this is over, I'll start anew with Noah. And first of all, I'll tell him everything about myself, even the most shameful. Then he can decide if he needs a woman like me, and as a mother of his child. Harper's heart constricted, and she stopped. She remembered in detail the day she, succumbing to emotions, aborted her child. 7 years later, he would have been. Instead of devising elaborate revenge plans, she would have been taking him to school or simply playing with him. Where was her head? If her grandmother had been alive, she wouldn't have allowed her to have an abortion. Meeting men, Harper hoped she could get pregnant and make things right. But apparently, higher powers punished her, and she could no longer have children. Harper stood for a moment longer, then shook her head and started running again. From behind, she heard the sound of a car. She ran on without looking back. Another local oligarch with a business proposal, no doubt. Good morning, Harper, you're charming. The voice was unfamiliar. She stopped and looked at the person addressing her. A well-dressed young man in a super expensive car. No one in the village had one like that. Another spoiled rich kid who thought he could get away with anything. Who are you? She asked sharply. I'm sorry, I didn't introduce myself. I'm Noah's brother. Daniel. I arrived yesterday, but I was so tired that I went to bed right away, and we didn't get a chance to meet. So you decided to get up early today to catch up with me on my run and introduce yourself, she asked. She continued running, not wanting to talk to him anymore. He didn't insist and drove away. Returning home, she saw Noah smiling on the porch. His eyes looked at her so warmly that she felt like melting and abandoning her entire plan. The kettle's already boiling, he informed her. Thank you. I'll just change clothes. Coffee? Noah asked, looking at her. Yes, please, Harper smiled. Listen, I met this young man. Daniel? Noah interjected. Yes. Is he really your brother? Yeah. He got involved in some shady stuff back in college. Started making money, dropped out of college. Then he made some successful investments, and now he lives off the dividends. Honestly, I was surprised too. He never visited us here. He didn't even come to our parents' funeral. I was pretty disappointed then. So, have you met him? Well, he caught up with me while I was running, and I didn't engage in conversation with him, she said. How did he know about me and where I was? This morning, when Daniel woke up, he wanted to move into your room to stay. But I told him the room was taken. He hung around the door, worried because there was silence from inside and you didn't peek out to see who was making noise outside. I figured you were out running. He decided to go to the cafe for coffee, but I didn't expect him to run into you. He's always been brazen, so don't pay him any mind. After breakfast, Harper went to her room and closed the door. Noah took Christy to daycare, then headed to work. Daniel stayed home. He suggested going for coffee with Harper, but she declined. She urgently needed to contact her father. Dad, I need information about someone. Yeah, who's that? Stan asked. Maybe it's nothing important, but I don't like the sudden appearance of a wealthy guy who hasn't been here before. Daniel Marvin. That's a familiar name, her father said thoughtfully. I'll look into it right away. With nothing else to do, Harper lay down and unexpectedly fell asleep, almost the entire day. Wow, she exclaimed, looking at the clock. I slept the whole day. There was a knock at the door. Thinking it was Daniel, Harper didn't rush to open it, but the knocking continued. With an annoyed expression, she opened the door to find Abigail, her father's chief auditor, standing there. Good afternoon, Harper. We've arrived, Abigail said. There were a few more people standing on the terrace. Oh, right. Please come in. I'll be with you in a moment, Harper replied, quickly heading to the bathroom to freshen up. Her father hadn't mentioned on the phone this morning that her team would be arriving today. Fully composed, she returned. Where are you staying? She asked. Nowhere yet. We came straight to you. Honestly, we're very tired, Abigail answered. Yes, of course, I understand. Let's find you a place to stay, Harper said, dialing Noah's number. He listened and suggested they could stay on the second floor of his place. Harper showed the visitors upstairs. The women settled in one room and the men in another. Harper suggested they come down for a bite to eat after settling in. Then she called Noah again. Noah, is there any cafe around here? Yes, but it's closed on weekends. The owner is Natalie, actually. I thought you two had hit it off, Noah replied. Yeah, something like that, Harper chuckled. She dialed Natalie's number. Natalie answered immediately, as if she had been expecting her call. Natalie, hi. I need a favor. Is there any decent restaurant around here? My team from Boston is arriving, and I need to arrange meals for them. You know, there's a nice cafe, mine. I think it would suit your needs, Natalie responded enthusiastically. Great. Can you arrange dinner delivery for 5 people? Harper asked. How about in 3 hours? Natalie suggested. That works, Harper replied and hung up. Harper was pleased. She understood that Natalie probably wasn't prepared, but she wouldn't want to look bad in front of guests from Boston. Let her stress a bit, it would do her good. Quite the character you've dug up for me, Harper's father's voice was laced with satisfaction. Your Daniel is well known in certain circles. He's a card shark who goes by the name Johnny Lee. He started back in college and was quite successful. Within a year, he made his first million and dropped out of school. He only targeted harmless victims and avoided crossing paths with the big fish, which is why he never got into trouble. He was always careful, and if it weren't for your precise description, I'd never have guessed that Johnny wasn't his real name. A few months ago, he took a risk and swindled some very influential people. He pulled it off and vanished. Everyone thinks he's abroad and they're looking for him there. But here he is, right under our noses. What's he doing there? Dad, he's the brother of the man I'm renting from, Harper said, stopping to catch her breath during her morning run. Well, that explains a lot. All right, I'll think about what to do with this information. How are you? Starting today? Yes, no point in delaying. I'm a bit nervous, though. All right, don't worry. Stay sharp and careful. When Harper returned from her run, everyone was already awake, except Daniel. He's still asleep, Noah said in response to her question about him. Coffee? Maybe later. I need to check on our guests. Natalie had done a great job. Breakfast was delivered as promised at 7 in the morning. Harper didn't see Noah again that morning. After breakfast, she organized a meeting that lasted until lunch. They all went to the cafe for lunch and then headed straight to the proposed construction site. By evening, the equipment had arrived. Harper felt elated. She loved that she was initiating something good and useful, and that this good would bring misfortune to those who had wronged her. Harper sat on the porch, smiling. Today had brought many changes and marked the beginning of a project she had been working toward for 7 long years. So far, everything was going well. Her team had gone to bed. Noah was putting Christy to sleep, but Harper couldn't sleep and decided to get some fresh air. Harper, may I join you? Daniel stood behind her. She had completely forgotten about him. Sure, she sighed. Harper didn't feel like talking to him, but it was worth observing and figuring out his future actions. So, are you the local savior? He began, but seeing her expression, realized he started off wrong. Her gaze turned icy, pinning him to the spot. Sorry, I meant, you've come to improve the living standards of this godforsaken village. She remained silent, staring at him. Daniel felt uneasy. I talked to some locals. You've got grand plans and a solid financial backing, he said. Harper was still silent but started to become interested. I could be useful to you. Really? She looked at him with curiosity. Yes, I have excellent and reliable suppliers for building materials. And why do you think I don't have any? Harper smirked. No, I didn't think that. But yours are likely from Boston, which means higher prices. Mine are more modest, but the quality is on par with yours. And the price is at least 10% lower. What do you think? Daniel, forgive me, but are you an idiot? Harper asked. An idiot? Why? Daniel was furious. No one had ever called him that before. Do you really think my company started this project without thorough planning and budgeting? And that we're only now thinking about where to buy the necessary materials? This has all been decided and agreed upon a long time ago. Well, sorry, the guy muttered. Good night, Daniel. I can't say it was a pleasure talking to you. Harper stood up from the porch. Such an evening was ruined. As she entered her room, she heard the phone ring. It was Billy. Harper, sorry for calling so late, he began, but you promised to have lunch with me sometime. Sorry, Billy, but it won't be possible anytime soon. The construction has started. Until it's running smoothly, I won't have any free time at all. That's a pity. He sounded genuinely disappointed. After saying goodbye, Harper hung up the phone. In the morning, Harper grabbed a stack of flyers and dashed out of the house. Yesterday, she had printed a large batch of flyers announcing new job openings at the construction site. She planned to cover the entire village and put up these notices. She had been running around posting flyers for about an hour when she heard a short car horn from behind. Turning around, she saw it was Billy. I see our lovely lady has added some extra challenges to her morning run, he said, stopping the car and leaning out of the window. Yes, Harper replied, deciding to observe his reaction. I'm recruiting the locals to work for me. That's good. A person should work. Otherwise, who will? A monkey? Billy laughed at his own joke. Harper, forgive me for being pushy, but I'd really like to meet with you in a neutral setting. She looked at him with surprise. I came out early today just to find you on your run and treat you to some coffee. Please, have a seat. He opened the passenger door. Intrigued by his approach, Harper got in. Billy leaned over to the back seat, retrieved a thermos and 2 cups, and poured coffee, handing 1 cup to Harper. This is for you, he said. So, you're trying to take our entrepreneurs' workers away? Billy asked. Well, I think a good worker won't leave a good employer, Harper replied. Yeah, Billy couldn't think of a response. Harper waited silently, watching him. Harper, my family is getting together this weekend. I'd like to invite you. I'm planning a barbecue, and I'd love for you and your colleagues to join us. Alright, I'll think about it. But now, sorry, I have to go. Without waiting for a reply, Harper got out of the car and continued her run, leaving Billy with the untouched cup of coffee. As she was nearing the house, someone called out to her again. I'm in high demand today, Harper thought with a smirk as she turned around. Harper, good morning. Colin awkwardly got out of his car. Good morning, Harper replied. I thought you and your team might need an office. I'd like to offer you a temporary office in my administration building. Really? Thank you, Harper said, genuinely appreciative. It would indeed be inconvenient to work and meet people at Noah's place. We'll come by around 9, okay? Of course, Colin said, I'll have several offices prepared for you to choose from. Good. And have your lawyers draft a lease agreement. Oh, no need for that, the mayor said, waving his hands. This is a friendly gesture, no rent required. Work there as long as you need. Great, thank you. See you then. Coffee? Noah greeted her on the terrace as usual. Your colleagues are already up. Yes, Noah, thank you. I'll be right there. I could really use some coffee. She quickly ran to her room and changed into a business suit. Before heading to Noah, Harper went upstairs. Her colleagues were gathered around a large table in one of the rooms they used for meetings, having breakfast. Natalie was reliable and always delivered food on time. Harper, where do we start? One of her colleagues asked. Well, Mayor Colin has generously and freely offered us several offices in the administration building. So today, Abigail and I will go there to handle documents and meet with people, as I expect a good response to the flyers I put up. Chief Engineer Robert and his team will head to the sites. After seeing her colleagues off, Harper went to Noah. She wanted to spend a few minutes with him. Time flew by quickly. Almost half the village came to apply for jobs with Harper, and people from other villages also started to show up. Every day, Colin would come by the office where Harper worked, asking how things were going, feigning delight and admiration. Billy, can't you see what's happening? The mayor panicked. Soon, you'll be left with nothing. We need to act fast. Billy listened, agreed, promised to think about it, but did nothing. He was afraid to admit, even to himself, that he thought of Harper not as a threat to his well-being but as a woman, so desirable and unattainable. The last time he felt this way was 20 years ago, and it ended badly. Since then, he had forbidden himself from getting involved with women. But Harper had managed to melt his heart. He no longer wanted to take away her project or profit from it. He wanted to develop it together with her, as partners. He decided to take his own path. Harper was walking towards the house. Over the weekend, Billy had invited her and her colleagues to a barbecue. She needed to make a decision about it. On one hand, she wanted to spend the weekend with Noah. They could have a picnic in the garden. On the other hand, at the barbecue, Billy and his team would likely take decisive action, and she didn't want to delay dealing with that. "Hi, my fairy." Lost in thought, Harper didn't notice Noah and Christy catching up to her. "We bought something. Will you join us for a picnic?" "Of course, dear." It didn't immediately dawn on Harper that she had agreed, thus disrupting all her plans for tomorrow. "Great," Noah said, delighted. "I'll figure it out later," she thought. Taking Christy's hand, they ran to the house. Daniel was waiting for them on the porch. Harper hadn't seen him for almost a week. When she left the house in the morning, he was still asleep, and when she returned, he was already gone. No one knew where he went or why, but he always came back drunk. Even now, there was a faint smell of alcohol on him. "Oh, hello," Daniel exclaimed. "The savior of our dying village." "Calm down," Noah intervened. "And what about you, brother? Are you in love? Or are you tired of your poor existence and decided to become a gigolo?" Daniel was clearly quite drunk. Noah tried to grab his brother, but Harper stopped the fight. She held Noah back by his arm. "Don't stoop to his level. He's just jealous of you for living a normal life. You're loved and expected at home. You have something to live for, someone to live for. You don't have to hide from anyone. The real poor here is you, Daniel. You're poor in spirit, you're not needed by anyone. The money you earned dishonestly didn't make you happy." Daniel turned pale and whispered. "Who are you? Who do you think you are?" "You see, Noah, he's lost his mind," Harper said calmly. "I'd be afraid to leave him alone with a child." "You're right. But what should we do with him?" "Call an ambulance and have him taken to a psychiatric facility." "No need," Daniel said. "No need, I'm going to my room and won't come out until morning." "But really, who are you, Harper?" Noah looked at her, but she ignored the question. Today, they were sitting in the garden. There was a small gazebo. After sending Daniel to bed, they decided to have dinner together. Harper quickly prepared the meal. Then they went out onto the terrace, playing with Christy until she got tired and fell asleep on Harper's lap. Noah carried her to bed and returned with a bottle of wine. "Come on," he nodded to Harper and led her to the gazebo. They sat in silence, drinking wine and enjoying each other's company. Suddenly, she spoke. "I'm just an ordinary woman. A careerist. You know too much for an ordinary woman. And you've taken on too much for just a careerist." "Well, maybe I'm not that ordinary," she tried to joke. "Unordinary enough to find out who my brother is in a day. So, is he someone special?" Harper tried to remain calm. "I know he's a hustler," Noah said. "I found out by accident, overhearing a phone conversation at my wedding. I was outside the cafe for some air. He was around the corner and didn't know I was listening. I never confronted him, and he still doesn't know. I always expected he'd come to me one day with problems. His arrival now shows he's in deep trouble. And after what you said today, which made him turn pale, I know it's serious. So, who are you, Harper?" She sighed. This was the worst time to reveal everything. But Noah continued. "Your appearance has changed. It means people here knew you before. You're hiding that for a reason." He looked at her, waiting for an answer. Harper sighed again and looked him straight in the eyes. "Nothing you need to worry about. Can I trust that this stays between us? Only if you're not planning anything bad. No, I did change my appearance so I wouldn't be recognized here. If you think I have ill intentions, you're both right and wrong. I want to punish people who took almost everything from me years ago. At the expense of ordinary people? No, never. It's with the help of ordinary people that I want to get my revenge. I swear the residents and everyone who works for me will not be harmed." "I don't know why, but I believe you," Noah said. "Thank you, Noah. I promise to tell you everything once it's over. But not now, sorry. Alright, I'll wait. He poured more wine and changed the subject. It was dark, but they didn't rush home. It's time. Harper felt an urgent need to leave. Yes, Noah replied but didn't move. She looked at him, ready to stand up, when he pulled her close and kissed her. I'm scared, Harper whispered. Of what? Noah whispered back. Of myself. She pulled away. Sorry, I can't. Harper quickly went into the house. Leaning against the closed door, she exhaled heavily. Everything was so complicated. How could there be a relationship now? It was the worst time. She pushed away from the door and, turning, opened it abruptly. Noah stood there. Damn it, she muttered, and threw herself into his arms. The alarm clock rang. Harper turned it off and carefully turned her head. The man was sound asleep, his arms wrapped around her. She didn't want to leave his embrace. Come on, Harper, enough relaxing, time to get back to reality, she told herself. After washing up and getting dressed, she quietly left the house. Noah was still asleep. She decided to go for a run. She opted to jog along the outskirts of the village. When she heard the sound of a car approaching from behind, she wasn't even surprised. The car sped past her and abruptly stopped, blocking her path. Who is that? Harper felt a bit uneasy. Joshua stepped out of the car. Her heart skipped a beat. Joshua was the only one of her adversaries who knew her quite well. She stopped, trying her best to appear calm. Did he recognize her? Hello, the man greeted. Harper stayed silent, giving him a disdainful look. He seemed flustered by her gaze. Need a ride? He couldn't think of anything else to say. Move the car. Sorry, I didn't think. I wouldn't recommend you try thinking again. You're not good at it. Let the adults do the thinking for you. Harper felt a wave of relief, realizing he didn't recognize her and was just trying to flirt. Joshua quickly got back into the car and moved it. Are you coming to the barbecue? He shouted as she ran past his car. Now I'm not sure. I wouldn't want to be around someone so rude. As she approached the house, Harper was smiling. Noah was standing on the porch with a cup of coffee in hand. Good morning, she said, trying to slip past, but he caught her by the waist and pulled her close. Seeing the startled look in her eyes, he laughed softly, kissed her, and said, That's not the right way to say good morning. He kissed her tenderly. Without realizing it, Harper wrapped her arms around his neck and completely lost herself in the moment. It seemed like Billy was having a heart attack. He had come to his son's house in the morning to send him to the city for additional barbecue supplies, but he wasn't home. It turned out Joshua had gone for a ride to meet Harper. Why did you go to meet her? We've been strategizing for days on the perfect approach so she doesn't suspect our true intentions. And you decided that with your smooth face, you'd win her over, and she, thrilled by the joy of your company, would hand over the business to you? Joshua didn't know how to respond. He did want to capture Harper's interest, but not to take over her business. Why? Let the production stay in her hands, but let her be with him. Marrying Harper would free him from his hateful wife and dependence on his father and father-in-law. But for some reason, Harper didn't fall victim to his charm, she just laughed at him. Billy was angry that his worthless son decided to court a woman he himself fancied. The night before, they had a meeting where they decided it was time to act. They had agreed to make Harper an offer of sponsorship. It was Colin, Hank, and, of course, Billy. In return, Harper was supposed to put either Billy or Hank at the helm of the production. And now this idiot, his son, wanted to ruin everything. But what if she didn't come to the barbecue? It would all be for nothing. In a relaxed atmosphere, with good wine, the chances of her positively responding to their offers would be much higher than in a formal setting. Hey, Dad, I urgently need to know Billy's complete financial status, Harper said. Accounts, real estate, all the businesses he owns. Do you think they're ready? Stan inquired. I'm sure. Send over the documents. Well, be careful, Stan cautioned. Stan was about to hang up, but Harper unexpectedly asked. Dad, when everything is over, can I stay here? Why? He asked, surprised. I thought you loved life in Boston. Plus, you have a job here. Yes, but there's work here too. You've fallen in love, Stan guessed. Who is he? Dad, I'm not sure, and I don't have time to figure it out right now. I just want to stay. Maybe to understand. Harper and Noah were lying on a large blanket spread out on the grass. The sun was shining brightly, and birds were singing. Christy, exhausted from playing, had fallen asleep in the gazebo chair. Daniel had gone somewhere since morning. Harper's colleagues had gone to Billy's barbecue. Noah hugged Harper and kissed her on the cheek. She smiled. Then he kissed her again and again, gradually moving closer to her lips. Harper's resolve to end their relationship evaporated instantly. She hugged Noah by the shoulders and pressed against him. A demanding car horn sounded from the front. Reluctantly, the young couple separated from each other. I'll see who it is, Noah said. He returned quickly, irritation evident on his face. It's Billy, here for you, he said. Sighing, Harper headed towards Billy, who stood there, his hands folded imploringly when he saw her. Harper, forgive me for my son. I must have missed something in his upbringing, Billy said. What did you want, Billy? Harper asked. I wanted to apologize for my son and ask you to join our barbecue. Your colleagues are already there. It seems they're having a good time, he replied. All right. I'll change and join you, Harper agreed. Harper really didn't want to leave Noah, but she had to see this through. I'll wait for you here, he said, sounding pleased. Leaving? Noah asked. Harper nodded. She wished so much to stay and forget everything in his embrace. She approached Noah and kissed him. Then she pulled away and whispered. Sorry, it has to be this way. Hey. So glad you came, Natalie rushed to greet Harper. I was getting bored with this old folks company, she whispered in her ear. Billy, pushing Natalie aside, immediately rushed to attend to Harper. He escorted her to the large terrace, where a table laden with food and drink stood, seated her in one of the wicker chairs, and handed her a glass of wine. At the other end of the table, Hank, the mayor, and her colleagues nodded in greeting. And how did you manage to leave my brother in such an excited state? A familiar voice whispered in her ear. Harper turned her head. It was Daniel. What are you doing here? She asked. So, he knew about her relationship with Noah. Meanwhile, Billy hurried to intervene. Harper, you've probably already met Daniel. He's a businessman too. Yes, we've met, Harper replied, shifting her attention to other members of the group. As it started to get dark, lanterns lit up on the terrace, creating a cozy atmosphere. Shall we talk business? Hank casually suggested. Dad, business? Can't you forget about it for one evening? Natalie groaned. A true businessman always thinks about business, Abigail chimed in. I, for one, am curious about how business is done in such a village. And everyone started talking about their methods. Gradually, the conversation narrowed down to one topic, the new production. Do you guys have so much money from the government that you don't need sponsors? Colin joked, but his eyes betrayed his seriousness. Everyone knows that there's never enough money allocated. That's why we need sponsors, Abigail said condescendingly, glancing at the mayor. But we haven't heard about your sponsors. Where are they? Billy directed the question to Harper, looking straight at her. You haven't heard about our sponsors because we haven't presented them with a report on our progress yet. We've also made some changes to the project, which significantly increases its cost. I believe our sponsors will be interested in a long-term partnership with us as equals. But we're not at liberty to disclose the names of our investors yet. What about the advertising you mentioned? It's too early for advertising, and not all of our sponsors want to be in the spotlight. Well, you understand what I mean. Harper gave the gathering a meaningful look. Silence fell. Joshua, to ease the tension, started filling glasses. Everyone drank together, then some more. They tried to talk about topics unrelated to production, but it was clear that the locals were eager to return to it. Harper, have you already decided on the sponsors? Billy decided to return to the topic. What's with the curiosity? We, Hank, Colin, and I, thought that as longtime residents of this village, we care about what happens here. Of course, we would like to participate in its development. And what help are you willing to offer? Harper squinted. We can act as your sponsors, Hank replied, I mean, your sole sponsors. What are your conditions? Harper asked. I assume you don't want to do this for nothing. We'll provide comprehensive support, Hank said. And what does that entail? She inquired. If you put someone like Billy in charge, for example, you'll have a competent and experienced manager. Billy knows all the ins and outs of doing business in our area. Well, we could certainly use a good manager, Harper said, pretending to think. It's an interesting proposition, but excuse me, I'm afraid you won't be able to handle such a sum. And how much is it? Colin asked. She named the amount. Colin slouched back in his chair, stunned. Hank began absent-mindedly tugging at his chin, and only Billy sat still, staring at the ground. Exactly the amount you have, Harper thought triumphantly. It's indeed a large sum, Hank finally said. In any case, she said, now is not the time to discuss such matters. After all, we came here to have fun. After Harper's statement, everyone fell silent, contemplating what had been said. Harper herself was lost in thoughts, but about Noah. She rose from her chair and headed towards the pond. She needed to clear her head. Friends, I apologize for interrupting your conversation, Daniel said, but I can offer my assistance. And what might that be? Hank asked, interested. To contribute the missing amount, the man said smugly. And who told you we were short? Hank asked, irritation creeping into his voice. No one, Daniel replied, I just thought so. Indeed, Harper is right, Billy said, now is not the time to discuss this. By the way, where is she? She went to the pond, Daniel said, and Joshua went there too. Ah, damn it. Billy cursed inwardly but didn't show it and didn't go after them. Let his wife go after him. He looked hopefully at Natalie, but she had been focused on Daniel almost the entire day. And Daniel had shifted his attention to Natalie. Natalie, he approached the girl, would you like to take a stroll? It's such a beautiful night. With pleasure. Natalie said. Harper, I want to apologize again for my behavior this morning. How can I make it up to you? Joshua said. Escort me home. Is there another way out of here to leave unnoticed? Harper asked. Of course, Joshua said, let's go. They walked leisurely towards Harper's house. To be honest, I admire you, Joshua began. Harper looked at him mockingly. No, seriously, you're so smart and very beautiful. Really, as soon as I saw you, I knew that you're an extraordinary woman, he said. Joshua, that's enough. I'll consider your father's and his friend's proposal for collaboration. I can't promise anything, but I'll definitely weigh the pros and cons, Harper said, looking at him. To be honest, I don't care, Joshua said. I'm not into business at all. I like what I do at my father's firm, but I'm not a manager, I'm just an executor. Then what do you want from me, she asked. Nothing, he said, I just want you to forgive me and allow me to communicate with you. Okay, Joshua. I forgive you, she said. Thank you, he said happily, so, Are we friends? We'll see. Harper dodged the answer. Good night, Joshua. Good night. Did everything go well? Harper startled at the sound of Noah's voice. He was sitting on the terrace in a chair. You're not asleep? She asked, surprised. No, he replied, and she sat down next to him. Noah, let's go to the city tomorrow, have some ice cream, and go on the carousel, she suggested. Sounds good, he agreed. He pulled Harper close and kissed her passionately. Shall we go upstairs? He said. She couldn't refuse. Harper woke up to a bright sunbeam. Noah was sleeping next to her, his head resting on her shoulder. She turned her head. What time was it? 9 in the morning. But where was the alarm clock? I turned it off when you fell asleep, Noah said without opening his eyes, pulling her closer. How about skipping your run today? All right. Then I'll go shower, Harper smiled. Great idea, I'll join you. They emerged from the shower an hour later. While Harper dried her hair, Noah prepared breakfast, and sleepy Christy stumbled into the kitchen. Do we have a day off, Dad? She asked. Yes, my dear. Your fairy suggests going on the carousel and eating ice cream, Noah said. Hooray! After a quick breakfast and getting dressed, they headed to the city. Well, gentlemen, any suggestions? Hank began. It was 2 in the afternoon when they gathered at Billy's house. Time waits for no one. Our business lady will soon start recruiting sponsors, Mayor chimed in. They looked at Billy, but he seemed lost in thought. Since the morning, he had been instructing his accountant to recount his entire fortune, waiting for the exact figure. Billy! Hank snapped him out of his reverie. What are your thoughts on this? I think we need to take action. Let the lawyers prepare the documents as soon as possible, he said. We just need to protect ourselves in case of the company's bankruptcy, Hank said thoughtfully. How do you propose to do that? We're acting as sponsors, and sponsors don't expect returns, Colin pointed out. Well, I don't know, maybe we can enter into some kind of agreement for participation in production, Colin suggested. Maybe, but it's unlikely to work. They already have everyone they need involved, except for sponsors, Hank replied. Then we just have to take the risk. Anyway, they'll need someone to manage it. And once our man is in charge, we'll get back everything we invested. Plus, much more, Hank said with a laugh. Where are you off to? Joshua stood, leaning against the door frame, watching as his wife fidgeted in front of the mirror. I want to go for a walk and do some shopping, Natalie replied without even turning towards her husband. And with whom, if I may ask? Joshua inquired. Natalie turned to face him. Since when did you become interested in what I do and with whom? You used to couldn't care less about where I went and with whom. What's changed? Well, maybe your absence yesterday. By the way, Daniel seems to have disappeared too. Were you with him, darling? Joshua questioned. Are you jealous, darling? Natalie retorted. I just don't want anyone cheating on me. So, before you sleep with someone else, maybe divorce me first, Joshua replied. Well, that's a good idea, Natalie smiled. I'll consider it. Natalie walked past Joshua with her head held high. Why hadn't she gotten herself a lover sooner? With Joshua, she only felt humiliated and ashamed of his attitude towards her. Daniel, on the other hand, was considerate, tender, and, moreover, wealthy, having earned his own fortune unlike her husband, who still lived off his father's money. Natalie and Daniel agreed to go to the city together, wander around the shops, have dinner at a restaurant, and spend a couple of hours in a hotel. Remembering tonight's plans, she decided that the first place they would visit would indeed be a hotel. Joshua stood in shock for a long time after his wife's statement. Finally, he snapped out of it and decided to go to Harper's place and invite her for a walk as well. Unfortunately, Harper wasn't home. Joshua went back home. There, grabbing a bottle of whiskey from the home bar, he went to the bedroom and fell asleep heavily drunk an hour later. "Oh no, there's Harper," Natalie said anxiously to Daniel. "She might give us away." They were sitting in one of the small restaurants. "Don't worry," Daniel smiled. "She's with my brother, so she's not paying attention to us." "With your brother?" "Oh yes, he caught my eye too when he first moved in with us." "But he was married back then," Natalie reminisced. "Oh, I see." Daniel feigned disbelief. "So, you're only with me to get closer to my brother?" "No, of course not," Natalie said. "I just didn't know he had such an amazing brother back then." Noah and Harper also noticed them, but they didn't discuss it. They were engrossed in their own little company. In the evening, tired but happy, they sat on the terrace and drank tea. Later, Harper's colleagues joined them. Everyone shared their impressions of the weekend. "Harper, I've prepared some documents," Abigail said. "They're only drafts, but I think you should take a look at them. Also, some papers came from Boston today, I think you'll be interested in them too." Before Harper could respond, Billy appeared in the doorway. "Sorry for dropping by unannounced," he began. "Harper, can I talk to you alone?" "I'm listening, Billy," Harper said as they walked away from the house. The man stopped, turned to the girl, took her hand in his, and said, "Harper, I'm not good at being romantic," he said. "But as soon as I saw you, I couldn't get you out of my head. You've enchanted me, Harper. I understand that I'm probably too old for you." "Oh, come on," Harper said. "You're a very interesting and attractive man, and age only adds to your charm." She knew she was talking nonsense. "Harper, I'd like to open up to you." "Don't think badly of me, but I think I've fallen for you," Billy confessed. Harper, pretending to be stunned by this confession, remained silent. Billy didn't say another word either. "It's too late now," he said after a while. "Let me take you home." She followed him, eager to get to her room as quickly as possible to think over the whole situation. "Harper," Billy took her hands again, "I understand that I might not be the admirer you dreamt of. But maybe you won't deny your not-so-young admirer a dinner together." "Okay, I agree," Harper replied. "When?" "Let's make it tomorrow," Billy said excitedly. "Tomorrow it is. 8 o'clock suits you." Instead of answering, Billy pressed his lips to her hands. "Great. Then until tomorrow." Harper tried to free her hands. "Until tomorrow, Harper, I'll be eagerly waiting." Billy whispered and rushed to his car. Shaking her head, the woman headed down the path towards home. Harper woke up earlier than usual. Yesterday, she hadn't had a chance to analyze her conversation with Billy or look at the documents that had arrived. "Pull yourself together," she ordered herself. With these thoughts, she quickly got dressed and, putting the documents in her backpack, ran out of the house. She decided to find a spot somewhere and read them outdoors. Reaching the river, she found a comfortable spot and took out the documents. As she read on, her mood lifted more and more. The documents revealed that their construction project had been noticed by government agencies, and they were very impressed. The government decided to support their endeavors and even allocate corresponding subsidies. It was also proposed to organize similar productions in other regions of the country. Several large companies had also volunteered to sponsor similar projects. "Hello, Harper. All engrossed in work, no time to visit an old friend like me, and here I am waiting." Betty stood next to Harper. "Betty, what are you doing here?" The girl didn't notice when Betty approached and stared at her with wide eyes. "I was just taking a walk." "You understand that I can't open up right now, Betty?" "I understand," she said. "Harper, you shouldn't trust Billy." "Yes, I know, Betty. Thank you for the warning." The old lady walked along the shore. Harper also got up, put the documents in her backpack, and ran in the opposite direction. She needed to think about another question. How should she behave with Billy? Unable to come up with anything, Harper headed home. Walking along the path past the bushes towards the house, someone grabbed her hand and pulled her behind the house. She was about to resist her captor when he turned around, and Harper saw Noah. "What's with the manners, Noah?" she said. Noah stopped, pulled her close to him, and said, "You definitely run away from me inside the house, so I decided to kidnap you for a little while." "Why?" Harper asked. "I know you want certainty in our relationship, even though you warned me yourself that you're not ready for it yet. You came here with a goal that's a top priority for you. Most likely, you didn't expect to be interested in anyone." "Yes, yes." Noah pressed his finger to her lips. "And don't object. We're drawn to each other. But falling in love isn't part of your plans, and you're trying not to give in to your feelings. At least, not until you finish what you came here for. But you also don't want to completely give up on them. Am I right?" Harper hesitated. Yes, he was indeed right. She couldn't pretend he didn't matter to her. Even for a while. She didn't want to let him and Christy go. "You're right," Harper replied. "I can't demand from you what I'm not able to give you myself yet. I'm sorry, we still need to wait until all of this is over." "Yes, we'll wait. But there's something we won't wait for." He leaned in and kissed her. They stood there, kissing, forgetting about everything else in the world. Harper spent the whole day at the construction site. She deliberately didn't go to the office to make the mayor and the other candidates nervous. And it worked. At 8:55, Colin called Billy in a panic demanding to meet. "Come over," he grunted and hung up. Half an hour later, the whole team was assembled. "What's happened?" Hank asked, displeased. "While we were having fun, a document arrived," said Colin. "The ministry is interested in what assistance we are providing to the company in building the new production facility. Have we been able to provide accommodation for incoming specialists and workers?" "And what did you say?" Billy lazily inquired, still unable to understand why the mayor was so agitated. "I said that we are doing everything possible to ensure the comfort of the construction workers. But that's not the point. Management called and warned that sponsors are coming to evaluate the size of the production and sign contracts for material support." Billy and Hank exchanged worried glances. "And what about you?" Hank asked. Colin wiped sweat from his face. "I said that sponsors are already in place, and contracts are practically signed." He exhaled and waited for a response from his partners. "You did well in that respect," Hank acknowledged. "But we haven't even determined who will contribute how much." "I don't know about you," the mayor began, "but I can't give more than a fifth." "No one expected more from you," Hank smirked. "So, Billy, shall we split the rest 50-50? "Fine," Billy readily agreed. "Go on, Colin, hurry up. Negotiate with Harper about sponsorship." Colin left quickly, but all his efforts were in vain. Harper didn't show up at the office. In response to his question about Harper's whereabouts, Abigail replied that she had gone to the construction site and was unlikely to be back today. "Can't we ask her to come?" Colin asked. "It's about the sponsorship we discussed." "We can discuss that with me," Abigail replied. "What do you need?" "We decided to become sponsors," Colin explained. "Do you really have that much money?" "Well, if we offer, it means we have it," the mayor proudly replied. "Great. Today I'll prepare all the necessary documents. Then we'll sign an agreement with Harper recommending you as sponsors. We'll send these documents to Boston, and after the money transfer, our management will sign them. Second copies will be handed to you personally." "What? Doesn't Harper sign contracts?" Colin was surprised. "Of course not. She answers to the CEO and owner of the company. Significant documents are signed by him. But she has the authority to decide who can act as sponsors and who cannot." "All right. I'll provide you with all the necessary information from our side. And if possible, try not to delay the sending," Colin requested. Don't worry, she smirked. As soon as Harper gives the green light, the documents will go to Boston immediately. You seem like you're getting ready for a date. Noah's voice startled Harper. She hadn't heard him come in. Well, I do have a date. With Billy. At least, I want him to think so. Harper decided to be honest. What game are you playing? He was angry, barely concealing it. Noah, I told you I'll explain everything. But later. This concerns only me and them. Them? Noah was surprised. Do you plan to go on a date with someone else besides Billy? No, the woman smiled. This will be the first and last. But it's necessary. I can't cancel it. Harper, I have no right to set conditions for you, but I don't want this to be a full-fledged date. You understand what I mean? I don't want that either, and I assure you it won't be. And now, sorry, I have to run. She left the room and went outside, where Billy was already waiting for her. Harper, you're as charming as ever. I can't find the words to express my admiration for you, he said as they drove to the restaurant. Harper modestly remained silent, barely holding back laughter. In the restaurant, the man courted her tirelessly, showering her with compliments. I would really hate for you to leave us, Billy looked into her eyes. But that's impossible. You're just my first project out of several others, she began, sensing where he was going. And maybe someone else will take care of these projects, the man suggested. And we could start something else and turn this village into a town. Are you an ambitious person, Billy? Why not? Your intellect, my business acumen. The whole world will be at our feet, Billy's eyes sparkled. Are you suggesting I become your partner? Harper tried to temper his enthusiasm. What about your colleagues? Ignoring the girl's last question, he launched into the conversation for which this date had been planned. Harper, I've already told you that you mean a lot to me. My thoughts are only about you, and what I'm about to propose to you, believe me, I offer only to be with you. She raised her eyebrows in surprise. I know you're already planning to involve sponsors in your project, and as far as I know, you've even made agreements with them. I thought it would be better if you had only one sponsor. That's me, Billy said. But why? I would like for you and me to manage this production alone, Harper. And I hope that over time, you will see in me not only a businessman but also an ordinary man who wants to be with you. But these are huge amounts of money. Where will you get such a sum? Believe me, Harper, I have it. Harper smiled, and Billy beamed. Mark my words, we'll succeed together. Billy raised his glass. Cheers. Cheers, Harper replied. Throughout the rest of the evening, Billy flirted with her. She tried to play along, laughing at his jokes, charmingly smiling, and batting her eyelashes. As they approached the village, Billy whispered to Harper. How about grabbing a cup of coffee? My treat. What about your wife? Harper asked. Oh, right, I keep forgetting I'm married. But one word from you and... Let's wait for now. I don't want people to get the wrong idea about us. It's not necessary for us at the moment, Harper said. You're so smart. Billy exclaimed admiringly, leaning in for a kiss, but Harper pulled away. Well, I'm a decent girl, she pretended to be upset. What do you think of me? Take me home right now. I'm sorry, please forgive me. Billy panicked. I didn't mean anything bad, I just forgot how to behave around a woman I like. You'll have time to think about it, Harper said. She jumped out of the car, glad that the driver had arrived at her house on time. Good night, Harper, she heard him say, but she didn't reply. How did it go? Noah sat on the terrace, holding a beer bottle in his hands. Fun, Harper replied, taking the bottle from him and taking a sip. They chatted for a bit longer before heading to bed. When Harper woke up in the morning, she didn't find Noah next to her. Strange, she thought, where did he go? She searched the house but couldn't find him. Christy was peacefully sleeping. Adjusting her blanket, Harper went to the living room, then to the kitchen. Finding no one, she went back, showered, and changed for her morning run. As she stepped onto the terrace, she heard someone approaching the house. "Oh, Harper." Daniel entered the terrace. "My brother, I guess, must not be getting enough exercise for you if you're running every morning. Or perhaps you have another morning workout partner." "You mean Joshua?" Harper asked. "No, I mean Billy. You're not only deceiving Joshua but also painting his dad in a bad light. And he doesn't like that, believe me. You seem to know everything about everyone here." Daniel squinted. "How? And more interestingly, why?" "You should stop playing detective." Harper scanned him from head to toe. "I know about you too and I can use my knowledge." "Are you threatening me?" Daniel stepped towards her. "Hey, back off from her." Noah's appearance cooled down the heated argument of the unruly brother. "Oh, the protector has arrived," Daniel said casually, stepping back from Harper. "Do you even know who you're defending, brother?" "My beloved woman," Noah replied. "And let me tell you, if such a thing happens again, you'll regret it. And also, leave this place, brother, you're not welcome here." "Why's that?" "This is my parents' house." Daniel retorted. "It's my house. My parents bought out your share, if you remember," Noah stated. With nothing left to do, Daniel went to pack his things. Harper checked the time, realizing she had too little time for her run. "Never mind, let's have some coffee." Noah hugged her shoulders and led her to the kitchen. "Where were you?" Harper asked when they sat down at the table. "Oh right, I completely forgot." Noah rushed out of the house, returning a minute later with a bouquet of irises. Harper smiled, burying her face in the flowers. "They smell so good," she said. "I'm telling you, she's not just here for no reason." Daniel appeared in the kitchen doorway, this time with a suitcase. "Need any help?" Noah offered. Daniel disappeared immediately. "And did you buy out his share?" Harper decided to change the subject. "When my wife got sick and needed clean air, we decided to sell our apartment and move to a village. My parents were already retired, so they liked the idea. But Daniel opposed it and demanded his share from the apartment sale. My parents got upset with him and transferred this house solely to me." "And your wife?" "Turns out, she'd been hiding her illness for too long. Pregnancy only worsened it, and she didn't make it through childbirth." "I'm sorry." Harper felt very ashamed that she had touched upon this sore subject. She placed her hand on Noah's and gave it a slight squeeze. Noah responded by covering her hand with his. "Seeing you, I remembered for the first time in 3 years that I haven't had a woman in a while," he smirked. "And then, when you forgot to wear your contacts, I nearly drowned in your eyes. Noah, I promise, once everything's over, I'll tell you everything. But I'm afraid your feelings for me will change after that." "And what are you planning to do?" Noah asked. But she didn't answer, just smiled and continued drinking her coffee. Daniel was angry. Harper was putting his life at risk. Something needed to be done urgently. But what? From her words, he understood that she was hiding something. If he could find out what exactly, he could turn it to his advantage. She knew too much about everyone, and what if? Daniel abruptly turned the car. Arriving at the nearest store, he stopped and went inside. Buying everything that caught his eye, the man asked the cashier. "Do you know where I can rent a house around here?" Just then, Betty entered the store. "Ask Betty," the cashier said, "she's looking after a house, maybe she'll let you in." Betty looked at the man unfriendly. "What do you need?" she asked. "I'm looking for a house to rent. To spend time with Natalie." Daniel was taken aback for a moment. "What are you staring at?" "Here, everyone sees, everyone knows." "Only Billy doesn't know about you and Natalie," Betty remarked. "You're mistaken. Natalie and I have purely friendly relations," Daniel explained. Sure," Betty chuckled. So, about the house? Daniel asked. I'll pay. Okay, let's go. Money won't hurt, just pay up front, Betty replied. Daniel immediately took out the money. Betty took it, counted the bills, and pocketed them. Come by tonight, I'll clean up first, it's been ages since anyone set foot in that house, Betty said. Having bought nothing, Betty left the store. She didn't particularly like this Daniel. She wouldn't have let him into that house, but she needed the money. Approaching Frances's house, the old woman hesitated for a moment, then went inside. She didn't want to clean up, she needed to get rid of all reminders of the former owners. A few hours later, Betty left the house and dragged a large bag to her own home. After hiding it there, the old woman went back outside. There was still something else to do. You know what, Colin, you've become greedy. What does the government allocate money for you? Harper heard a familiar voice and stepped out of the office to find out why Betty was scolding someone. Seeing her, she began speaking, but addressing her instead. You, dear, are trying here for us, out of your own pocket, and this scoundrel saves the money allocated by the state for us as if it were his own, Betty exclaimed. Harper, don't worry, Colin blushed. Betty, go away now, we'll handle your problem. He began pushing the old lady towards the exit, but she resisted and, glaring at Harper, shouted. Handle it? I doubt it, you always have nothing but excuses. Harper realized that the old lady had orchestrated this scene for a reason. She approached the mayor and the old woman, then, taking her by the arm, led her outside, saying, Don't worry, Colin, I'll take care of everything. Harper smiled. Betty, what's wrong? What happened? She asked in a whisper as they exited. Harper, I rented your house out to that Daniel. That's what happened. Are you out of your mind? Why? Harper, I need repairs in the house, but I don't have the money, Betty said, almost crying. Why didn't you tell me? I was embarrassed. But don't worry, I've taken all your things out of there. Harper rolled her eyes and pondered. Then she picked up her phone and made a call. Benjamin, come to my office urgently. Benjamin was one of the engineers who had come to the construction site from her father. He was in charge of electrifying the production. That was his main job here. In Boston, he worked on installing wiretapping and video surveillance. Betty, you go. A guy will come to you soon, let him into our house for a while. But be careful not to run into Daniel. Betty obediently headed to the house. Harper ran along the river, lost in thought. It had been over a month since she arrived here. She came here with one goal, revenge. The plan was carefully crafted, with all the nuances considered. But what Harper couldn't predict happened. She realized that adjustments were necessary here. At first, she didn't like Billy's offer to become the sole sponsor. She planned for everyone to lose money. But later she understood that her production was already depriving them of their workforce and therefore profits. Moreover, Billy was practically the unofficial leader of the settlement, so if he faltered, everyone would falter. His son Joshua, who was first on her list for revenge, was also completely dependent on his father. And he had already avenged himself by marrying Natalie. In the end, there was only Billy left. The man who raised a terrible son, the scoundrel who caused her grandmother's death, who brought the residents of the settlement to poverty. She dashed onto the road, and immediately heard a car horn behind her. Harper stopped. The car stopped too. Harper, dear, it was Billy, is something wrong? I thought we had everything sorted out. Do you mean the sponsorship agreement? She looked at the man who approached and stood opposite her. 2 days ago, she, Billy, and 2 of his colleagues signed a sponsorship agreement. The contract specified 3 people as sponsors. Well, of course. I provided all the bank statements to confirm my solvency, Billy said, omitting that now his house, cars, and businesses were pledged. Billy, Harper took his arm, do you really think I'll show my favor to you so easily? It would be suspicious. Why do we need that? Then what should we do? Nothing, everything's under control. In the covering letter to the management, I recommended only you as the sponsor and future manager. Overjoyed, Billy rushed towards Harper with kisses, but she gently pushed him away. Sorry, I have to go, lots to do. Billy ran to his car, while Harper continued her walk and urgently called her father. Don't worry, Stan was calm. Everything's under control. I've signed everything, sent the documents to you. Let him declare his assets. I'm not worried about that. I'm concerned about this cheat. Dad, he's digging up information about me. I'm afraid he'll find out everything before it's all settled. I see. Tell Benjamin to connect the cameras in the house where Daniel moved in to the main server. I'll inform the head of my security service, he'll take it under control. Good morning, gentlemen, Harper began emphatically. She had gathered them all in the administration conference room. Yesterday, the documents regarding your sponsorship request arrived. I've reviewed them and am about to announce their contents. Unfortunately, only one candidacy has been approved for sponsorship. The reason being that our project holds great significance, and all the funds invested will not only go towards launching production in your village but also in other regions. Consequently, we can't have all investors coming from a single region, especially since preparations have begun elsewhere in the country. We've also received sponsorship offers from those areas, and you understand how honorable it is to aid the state in its development. These individuals' names will be known to all. Therefore, we cannot allocate sponsorship to any one region. As Harper delivered her speech, she carefully observed the gathered men. She wanted to gauge their reactions once she announced the name. Hank pretended to be interested in what Harper was saying but was eager to leave. Colin tried to listen attentively but seemed perplexed. It was evident on his face. Only Billy sat there with an air of confidence. It was clear that he took every word as a personal victory. Now, I will announce the name of our future sponsor. Harper took the documents, pretending to search for the name and then pronounced. It will be Billy Shipstone. Billy acted as if he were greatly surprised. He jumped up, rushed to Harper, grabbed her hand, and started shaking it. Thank you, Harper, for your trust. This is very unexpected, he exclaimed. Nothing unexpected about it, Hank snorted. Everyone knows you've been chasing after Harper for a while. Oh, Harper, I thought you were a professional, but you're just like everyone else. What did he promise you? Hank, keep your speculations to yourself. It wasn't my decision, but that of my superiors, Harper raised her voice. Yeah, grumbled Hank, loudly slamming the door as he left. How can this be, murmured Colin. Harper, this isn't fair. And you, Colin, shouldn't have even put forth your candidacy, Harper said, addressing the mayor. Pray that certain questions don't arise about where the village mayor got such funds that he's even willing to sponsor a project of national importance. Colin blushed and rushed out of the office. Harper. Billy gently took her hand. I'm very grateful to you. Shall we celebrate? Will you have dinner with me? Absolutely, but not today. My schedule for the next 2 weeks is packed to the minute. So, maybe later. By the way, you can transfer the money, Abigail will provide you with the details, she said as she left the office. Several more days passed. The money from Billy was received, but he hardly saw Harper, she kept slipping away from him all the time. Who would have thought I'd be doing this in this house? Natalie sat on the old couch in Frances's house, barely covered with a sheet, slowly sipping wine from a glass. It's strange. A few years ago, I wouldn't even look in the direction of this house. I never went to this part of the settlement, she said thoughtfully. Daniel listened attentively. Here lived poor people, as I thought back then. Now, only old folks are left, but before, there were many troubled families. For example, there was an old woman living in this house with her granddaughter, who was my age. Her mother died. Harper was about 5 then. Nobody ever saw her father. Harper followed her mother's footsteps, got involved with a local rich boy. He lied to her about love, and she believed him. They slept together, and she got pregnant. She thought he would marry her, but he mocked her and left. Her grandmother died of sorrow, her daughter raised a libertine, and the granddaughter grew up like that. What happened to the granddaughter? A thought popped into Daniel's head. Harper. She disappeared. People said she drowned, but nobody bothered to search for her. Betty, the old lady, might know, he replied. What was the girl's name? Harper. Natalie was surprised and slightly offended by his interest. She wanted Daniel to think only of her. Come here, I didn't come here to talk about dead people, she said, a bit irritated. But Daniel seemed not to hear her. Harper, he said thoughtfully. What? You think that Harper is our Harper? Natalie laughed. Forget it. That Harper was blonde, round-faced, chubby, and short. And this one is clearly from the upper circles. Well, yeah, you're probably right. Daniel decided to delve into his suspicions later and approached Natalie. Indeed, he hadn't come here for conversations. Stan, said the head of security, I think you'd be interested in seeing this. He approached the desk, ran his fingers over the keyboard, and an image appeared on the screen. After viewing it, Stan paused for a moment. Well, we shouldn't underestimate this Daniel. I'm sure sooner or later he'll dig up the truth. Should we neutralize him? Suggested the security chief. No, not yet. But we need to keep an eye on him. Send someone there posing as a driver for Harper. I was planning to go to the settlement myself. The situation is nearing a resolution, but it's still too early for my appearance there. Returning from her jog, Harper noticed a familiar car parked by the gate. Her car. Pondering how her car ended up in the settlement, Harper approached the house and went up to the terrace. Noah and Kieran were sitting in the wicker chairs. Kieran was one of her father's security guards. Kieran, what are you doing here? She asked. No one had informed her about anyone from Boston coming. Harper, Stan sent me to you. He said you needed a car for work. Really? She was greatly surprised. Production is growing, it's about to be launched soon. It'll be hard for you to keep up without a car. Moreover, Stan decided you'll need a driver. Alright, Kieran, I understand. But today's my day off, and you can take a break too. Yes, thank you, but first I'd like to give you some documents. Harper looked at Noah and waved Kieran to follow her into the house. Harper, we received this from the video surveillance system installed by Benjamin recently, Kieran said, turning on the laptop and showing Harper the video. That's why Stan decided to send me to you as a driver. Do you think it's that serious? Harper asked thoughtfully. It never hurts to be cautious. Alright, I understand, Kieran. But today I have no intention of leaving the house, so you can rest. Great. Then I'll go get my things. Noah lounged in the deck chair, dozing off, while Christy romped around the garden with the puppy. Harper wished this idyllic scene could last forever. You've got a good boss, even provided you with a bodyguard, as if sensing you've got an enemy here, Christy remarked. They always show up when there's big money involved, Harper replied. By the way, Daniel hasn't left anywhere, Noah said. He's staying on the outskirts in an abandoned house. Maybe he's just fallen for Natalie and doesn't want to leave her, Harper speculated. Perhaps. Although I never noticed such sentimentality in him before. Most likely, it's dangerous for him to go anywhere right now. Dangerous? Harper pretended to be surprised. Harper, you know perfectly well what I'm talking about. Harper decided to stop pretending she didn't understand and simply looked attentively at Noah. Let's make a deal. I understand your reluctance to reveal who you are and why you're here. But I ask you, if I suspect something, don't try to dissuade me. I'd rather be prepared for your true self than be caught off guard. But honestly, sometimes I feel like shaking you until you spill everything and give me the chance to protect you, or prevent you from doing something foolish. I've already done all the foolish things one could do, and I've paid for them, she said, sadly smiling and leaning against him. Daniel pondered. Something told him that the Harper living in his brother's house and the Harper from the house he rented were somehow connected. He asked Betty who lived here. But she replied that it was her acquaintance, who had long since passed away. The cantankerous old lady definitely knew something but wasn't saying. Who was that wealthy boy the girl was dating? Considering there were only a few wealthy families in the settlement, he could try to find him. Of the wealthy kids in the settlement, only Natalie and Joshua remained. The next day, Daniel headed into town in the morning. He called Natalie and arranged to meet her at a cafe. She was happy and rushed off to get dressed. Going to see your lover, a drunken Joshua stood in the doorway. "Ew, get out of here." Natalie grimaced in disgust. Joshua's eyes filled with bloodshot rage. "Get out of here." He lunged at his wife and grabbed her. "Why didn't you tell me, get out, at the wedding? You were trembling with excitement, wanting to marry me. And now you're kicking me out. You're not going anywhere, you'll stay home and fulfill your wifely duty." "Yeah, just right now," she said. Natalie, summoning all her strength, pushed her husband away. Joshua recoiled, releasing her, and she flew out of the room. Rushing into the yard, she sprinted to her car and got in. Frantically, she dialed her father's number as Joshua lunged at the car, pounding on it. "Dad, this scoundrel is beating me." Hank hurriedly arrived, not alone, but with his driver. Together, they pulled the raging Joshua away from his daughter's car. "Take her home," Hank instructed his driver, "and I'll go see Billy." "Dad, you go ahead. I need to go to a meeting," Natalie said, eager to be in Daniel's arms as soon as possible. "For what meeting?" her father asked, surprised. "A business one, I'll explain later," she said, driving off without waiting for a response. Minutes later, Hank was in Billy's office. Meanwhile, Harper was standing in the new workshop. Tomorrow, this workshop would start operating, and in a couple of weeks, the entire production would be up and running. The opening of the enterprise was planned with great ceremony. Her father and several high-ranking officials would attend. That's when everything would be settled. "What are you going to do?" Daniel and Natalie were lying in bed at the hotel. "Of course, I'm going to file for divorce," Natalie replied. "I don't understand what you saw in him. Didn't you have the opportunity to move to a big city and find a suitable husband there? You're beautiful, smart, from a good family. You know, I didn't want to study. And my father wouldn't have let me go to the big city just like that. Here, in the village, everyone knows each other, and it's better to be a big fish in a small pond." "But why Joshua? There was no one else. Everyone left right after school, and I was in love with him back then." "Did he love you?" Daniel asked. "He loved everyone back then. Especially enjoyed tricking the village girls into thinking he was in love with them. They'd start planning weddings seriously. How we laughed at them later." Natalie laughed, not noticing Daniel's frown. "Sweetheart, why don't we continue our conversation at my place? You can go home, check the situation, and I'll get everything ready for our meeting." Natalie smiled and quickly got dressed. They each got into their own cars and drove off. On the way, Daniel thought about what he had heard from Natalie. There was a good chance that the man who wronged that Harper was Joshua. And if it was him, then it could be assumed that Harper came back to take revenge. But where had she been all these years? And who was supporting her? He needed to find pictures of that Harper urgently. "My love," he called his lover, "do you have any old childhood photos? I want to see you as a little girl." "Why?" Natalie asked, surprised. "So I can imagine what our children might look like," Daniel said, realizing he was probably in trouble. Natalie was so delighted she was nearly speechless. Promising to look for the photos, she rushed home, changed quickly, put on makeup, grabbed all her albums, and hurried back to Daniel. Daniel looked at the photo of Harper that he had secretly taken yesterday. Natalie had brought all her albums, and he had to listen to her and admire her childhood photos for a long time until she finally showed her class photo. And here's that Harper. Could this ugly duckling be our Harper? Daniel agreed that it didn't seem possible and secretly took a photo with his phone. He transferred the photo from his phone to his computer and opened Photoshop. He made the hair wavy and chestnut-colored, slimmed down the figure, reduced the cheeks, changed the eyes to brown, dressed her in a fashionable modern dress, and... The photo now showed Harper, the businesswoman. Grabbing his laptop, Daniel rushed out of the house but was stopped by a large young man at the door. "Who are you? What do you want?" Daniel shouted. "Calm down," the man said. He approached Daniel, grabbed him by the arm, and forced him to sit on a chair. "Do you know why I'm here?" "No," Daniel tried to play dumb. "You swindled some very serious people out of a lot of money. I promised to find you and bring you back. But the container they gave me for you is too small." The guy pulled a bag out of his pocket, "so I'll have to bring just one part. Maybe your head. I'll pay everything back." Daniel was terrified. "Of course, you will. But my clients need compensation." The man shook the bag. "Let's make a deal," Daniel said, tears streaming down his cheeks. "I'll transfer all the money I have to your accounts." Another man entered the house. "Who are you?" The man with the bag stared at the newcomer. "He owes us a little something as well, but it's different. I'm Kieran, Stan's personal driver." The newcomer extended his hand. "Is this the guy?" The man with the bag extended his hand in return. "Yes, that's him. By the way, he's here in the village right now." "Well then, let's make a deal. As soon as he transfers the money to us, he will be at your complete disposal, and the bosses will sort things out among themselves." An hour later, the first man left the house, leaving the bag on the chair. "They took everything I had," Daniel exclaimed in despair. "But that's still better than losing your life," Kieran replied as he headed for the door. "Oh, and don't bother with your Photoshop. No one cares about that anymore. And make sure to thank Harper. She convinced her father to let you live." Kieran walked out, leaving Daniel sitting there, staring blankly into space. Billy was driving to Harper's office. Posters announcing the grand opening of the new factory were plastered all over the village. There would even be a formal ceremony where the manager of the facility would be announced. Billy was puzzled by Harper's silence and decided to get to the bottom of it. Arriving at the office, he burst into her room, not paying attention to the man standing by the window with his back to the door. He began asking questions as soon as he entered. "Harper, when are you going to tell me?" "I need to prepare," Billy said. "What are you talking about?" Harper asked, puzzled. "My appointment." "What else?" Billy responded. "What appointment?" Harper asked coldly. "What do you mean, what appointment?" "Harper, have you forgotten? You promised me." Billy whispered menacingly. "You said I would head this facility." "No, that's what you said," Harper replied. "I never made any promises. You came up with this idea and appointed yourself. You're not fit to lead this kind of operation. You're too greedy. Do you understand what you're saying?" "I gave up everything I had for this," Billy shouted. "That was your personal decision. You were warned about the amount and all the details. If you don't remember, read the papers," Harper said. "Do you know what I'm going to do to you for this?" Billy yelled and lunged at Harper but stopped abruptly when he met the stern gaze of the man who had turned away from the window. "Stan. You." Billy stammered, paling. "You two know each other?" Harper asked, surprised. Her father had arrived late in the evening without any prior notice. "Yes, Harper, but I know him from a very different side. An even nastier side than you do. He's responsible for your mother's death, Stan revealed. Harper's eyes widened in shock. Your mother led a promiscuous life, but she was selective about her men. Billy didn't appeal to her, and he didn't like that. He beat her severely, and the last blow was fatal. To cover his tracks, he dumped her body in a ditch far from his house. Because of her lifestyle, no one investigated her death, Stan continued. Harper grabbed the back of a nearby chair as her vision darkened. Billy stood there, gasping for air. Stan helped his daughter into a chair and gave her some water. Are you wondering how I know all this? Your accomplice told me everything. I didn't leave right away when I visited 20 years ago. I went to the cemetery to say goodbye to her, and I met your accomplice there. He was drunk, sitting on her grave, asking for forgiveness. I talked to him about it. I wanted to settle the score with you immediately, but I realized it wasn't the right time. So I waited, and now the time has come. Harper returned home, utterly devastated. The news that Billy was her mother's killer was a complete shock. Why didn't you tell me everything from the start? She asked her father as they drove home. Because you wouldn't have been able to carry out your plans with a clear head. While we can eventually come to terms with our own misfortunes, the tragedies of our loved ones can throw us off balance. You needed a clear mind and cold resolve, he replied. But what am I supposed to do with all this now? She asked. If you want, you can go to the police, and he'll be imprisoned. But he has already lost the most valuable things in his life. Everything he lived for is gone, he said. At home, Harper took a shower, lay down, and fell asleep almost immediately. When she woke up, it was the middle of the night. The house was silent. After sitting in bed for a while, she decided to go to the terrace for a cup of tea. Noah was sitting on the terrace. He silently poured her a cup of tea. How are you feeling? Stan said you weren't well, he asked. Thank you, I'm feeling better, Harper replied. Do you already know? About Billy? Yes, Stan told me everything. And they caught Daniel. The people he crossed caught up with him. Your driver arrived just in time, otherwise, they would have. Noah trailed off. He lost all his money, by the way. And he found a photo of a girl, photoshopped it, and realized it was you. He was rushing to show it to someone. So, everyone knows about me now? Harper asked. Yeah, Noah confirmed. And what's going to happen with us now? She asked. I'd really like for something to happen between us. But we come from different worlds. I can't provide you with the life you're used to. And I can't become a part of your family. I don't want to be a kept man. So, I suggest we meet occasionally until you find someone more suitable, Noah said. Noah, that's not what I wanted to hear from you. Everything you just said is nonsense. People only say that when they want to end a relationship. You found a convenient excuse. Well, I hear you and understand. Good night, Harper said. She got up and went to her room. I thought you were a smart man. From the stairs leading to the second floor, a shadow emerged into the light. It was Stan. You could have come up with a better excuse. I wasn't making excuses, Noah protested. Maybe I just chose the wrong words. Are you really that proud? Stan asked. Proud? I could marry your daughter right now. But then what? What can I offer her? Noah replied. You can give her your care and support, restore her faith in people, and help her forget all the hardships she's faced. That's worth far more than material wealth, believe me. I would never have built my empire if I could love someone. But I had no one, so I worked and worked to fill the emptiness inside. I only stopped when I found out I had a daughter and brought her home. Believe me, love moves mountains and dries up seas. Noah, you're a good man. If Harper means something to you, you'll do whatever it takes to be worthy of her. I know you can do it. And if you can't, I'll just rip your head off, Stan said. Sounds like a solid plan, Stan, Noah smiled. The next morning was not kind to Harper. She woke up with intense nausea and barely made it to the bathroom in time. Her head was pounding, and she felt weak all over. Could it be a stomach flu? Or maybe I was poisoned? Harper wondered. She called Kieran. "Kieran, take me to the hospital, quietly, so no one knows." They slipped out unnoticed. At the hospital, Harper described her symptoms and was sent for tests. While waiting, she talked with the doctor, who asked her detailed questions about her recent health. "Why do you think you're poisoned?" "These symptoms are also common in pregnant women," the doctor said. "Unfortunately, I had an abortion a few years ago. The doctor then told me I wouldn't be able to have children anymore." "Well, we'll know more once the tests are done, and then I can prescribe treatment." A nurse came in with the results. The doctor studied them for a long time, frowning, then smiling mysteriously. Finally, he put the papers down and looked at Harper. "Well, young lady, I have news that's not only delightful but also a bit puzzling." "Don't keep me in suspense," Harper said. "I want to congratulate you. You're definitely pregnant. It's early, about 4 to 5 weeks. If you want to keep the pregnancy, you need to take care of yourself, rest more, and avoid stress. I'll prescribe you some vitamins. Come back in a month." Harper left the clinic with a radiant smile. "Is everything all right?" Kieran asked worriedly. "Everything's perfect. Wonderful. Magical." Harper kissed him on the cheek and jumped into the car. During the drive, Kieran received a call. After listening, he said, "All right," and hung up. Harper was too absorbed in her thoughts to pay attention. She didn't notice anything until Kieran stopped the car and said, "We're here." She stepped out without thinking and found herself in front of her grandmother's house. "Kieran, why did you bring me here?" she asked in surprise. "Go inside, and you'll see. Don't worry, I promise you'll like it." She walked to the house, opened the door, and found herself in a fairy tale. The whole house was decorated with flowers, candles were burning everywhere, and in the middle of the room was a beautifully set table. Standing beside it was Noah. He walked over to Harper and took her hand. "Harper, I was a fool. I said a lot of stupid things yesterday, and I'm sorry. I was scared that I couldn't be a good husband for you, but I love you so much and can't live without you. I'll do everything I can to give you the life you're used to." Noah pulled out a small box from his pocket and got down on one knee. "Harper, will you marry me?" Overwhelmed with emotions, Harper couldn't utter a word. Tears streamed down her cheeks, and all she could do was nod. Noah leaped up and embraced her, showering her tear-streaked face with kisses. "Are you really saying yes? You'll marry me? You're not worried about my modest income?" "I'm not picky," Harper laughed. "I fell in love with you that evening when you took off your lenses. I got lost in your eyes and knew I'd never want to leave. I love you too. And of course, I'll marry you. But on one condition, you won't worry about your income anymore. You'll do what you love and take care of us. Okay, I promise." "Wait, us?" Noah looked at her in surprise. "I'm pregnant. It's still early, but I already have a picture." Noah lifted Harper in his arms and spun her around the room. The celebration was in full swing. Tables lined the town square, people were eating, drinking, and having fun, and nearby, a small park with children's rides added to the festivities. Harper, her father, and Noah sat together at a table. The day before, Harper and Noah had visited a beauty salon where she had washed out the dye from her hair. "So, when are you planning the wedding?" Stan turned to his future son-in-law. "We're thinking at the end of summer." Noah glanced at Harper, who smiled back at him. "Great. Now it's time. Let's go, daughter. It's time to introduce the general manager of the new plant to the people." Harper shrugged and followed her father. They walked up to the stage set up in the square. "May I have your attention, please?" Stan shouted into the microphone. Dear friends, we've heard many kind words about your new plant, but I'm sure you're all wondering who will be running it. So, let me introduce you to the general manager. Please welcome someone you all know, Harper. The crowd cheered and clapped, and a stunned Harper turned to her father. But Dad, why me? Aren't you happy? Stan looked at his daughter sternly. No, of course, I'm happy. This is my creation. Then what's the problem? You're staying in here anyway. Knowing you, I think you'd go crazy without work. You created this plant, and you should be the one to run it. I understand, Dad. Thank you. But I'll need a deputy soon. They had already stepped off the stage and stood near their table. Betty approached them. Are you worried you won't have enough time for your family? Stan asked, puzzled. You'll soon be a grandfather, can't you see? Betty said. Stan's eyes widened as he stared first at Betty, then at his daughter. Is it true? Harper shyly lowered her gaze. Harper's dream of a modest wedding didn't come true. The entire village celebrated with them. Tables were set up in the town square, the same place where all the festivities took place. Natalie handled the menu. She had become the official caterer for the factory workers, opening a cafeteria on the factory grounds with Harper's permission. Her cafe now operated regularly, and a modern club was soon to open. Her father, Hank, became the official supplier of raw materials for the new factory. Daniel handed over all his money and asked Natalie for forgiveness. She forgave him and agreed to marry him. Daniel avoided repeating his past mistakes, gave up cheating, and started actively helping his future wife with her business. Billy turned himself into the police. After Stan announced the name of the factory's general manager, Billy transferred all his assets, which were pledged to the bank, and went to the police station. He was imprisoned. In jail, he turned to religion and, after serving his sentence, went to a monastery. Joshua quit drinking and approached Harper. After hearing his apologies for the past, she allowed him to work in one of the factory's departments. Management spoke highly of him, and colleagues whispered that he had started a romance. Harper started a major renovation at home. Noah didn't object but made sure his wife ate well, didn't lift heavy things, and didn't overwork. Stan regularly visited his daughter, becoming very tender and anxious as he awaited his grandchild. Christy comforted him. Grandpa, don't worry so much, Dad will handle it, she said. Stan would hug Christy, burying his face in her hair, and find some peace. Harper and Noah were happy and wanted to have a large, close-knit family.